Vol 2, Chapter 181, The Hook. In a desolate galaxy, a fleet of 70 warships floated silently in the vast expanse of space. Inside one of the ships, Tang Xiao sat cross-legged on the floor of his bedroom. The dark side of the Force swirled around him, manifesting as black mist that occasionally drifted by, revealing twisted faces and silent screams within. An adjutant approached, carrying a tray with a compressed biscuit and a cup of coffee. He seemed unfazed by the eerie scene, calmly stating, "Manager, please have something to eat." The coffee cup levitated, guided by an invisible force, and positioned itself in front of Tang Xiao. Without breaking his meditative state or uttering a word, Tang Xiao somehow communicated with the adjutant, who nodded, understandingly lowered his head, and said, "Understood, manager. I will distribute the biscuits to the others." For 15 days, the fleet had been stationed in this forsaken place, maintaining communication with the planet Dawn, but showing no signs of departure. Despite the barrenness of the galaxy, they managed to extract hydrogen and oxygen elements to produce some pure water, extending their operational capability beyond the usual continuous combat duration. Baron Zemo entered the room, his appearance marked by a stubbled chin and a look of wariness. "Manager, the fish has taken the bait. Vigo Cash-Garelon is mobilizing his fleet, and several suspicious bounty hunters have conducted reconnaissance in the Endor system." Tang Xiao slowly opened his eyes, and the visions in the bedroom vanished. He took a sip of coffee and remarked, "They're finally making their move. We couldn't have held out much longer." Baron Zemo scoffed. "Black Sun has been eyeing us, eager to plunder our caravans and sever our supplies. Their forces are mostly concealed, their interests complex. Dealing with them is no easy task." "Your plan is excellent. Eliminating Cash-Garelon will breach the Black Sun's underground empire," Tang Xiao said, his eyes gleaming with determination. Baron Zemo nodded. "The Republic can't reveal the intact state of the Fourth Group fleet, nor can they afford the embarrassment. A gag order will likely be issued to all personnel. After all, Speaker Nesvalorum's position could be jeopardized. Both Scarlet Dawn and White Worm are in the dark about our situation, easily misled. Given our absence from the Milky Way for 15 days, Black Sun must believe we suffered heavy losses at Malathal Fjord." Tang Xiao gazed out the porthole at a few transport ships on a barren planet. "Little do they know, we anticipated the outcome at Malastar Fjord and dispatched support ships well in advance. Without these supplies, our situation would be dire." "What's the status of Red John's mercenary fleet?" "Chi-Jian has made the arrangements. He even joked about how I've sent you out here to starve," Baron Zemo said with a light smile. "Red John's fleet is in position, and Professor Chi's preparations are complete. We're just waiting for the players to take the stage." At the edge of the Endor galaxy, bursts of white light suddenly flashed, and hundreds of battleships materialized in space. These ships varied in design. Among the fleet, the most formidable was a squadron of 7 CR-70 frigates. Each 120-meter-long frigate was a force to be reckoned with. Previously, when the Black Sun attempted to assault the Endor system, they dispatched one of these frigates, only for it to be swiftly annihilated by a squadron of ghost fighters employing guerrilla tactics. This time, however, Vigo Cash-Garelon had decided to deploy his entire arsenal, sending out all 7 ships in a bold move. Moments later, the void of space was pierced by a blinding flash of white light as an enormous spaceship emerged from hyperspace. The vessel, stretching over 800 meters in length, boasted a distinctive catamaran hull with a rounded design. Its towering bridge loomed over the battleship, with a spacious hangar platform nestled between the twin hulls. This was the Captor-class heavy supply Shi-P, a formidable armed supply vessel that had been produced by the Trade Federation's defense sector 200 years prior. Although it was eventually superseded by the more advanced Rookie Hook class and phased out, the Captor class remained a valuable asset within the judicial fleet of the Galactic Republic and had found its way onto the black market due to its robust performance. The massive ship was cloaked in black, adorned with a large emblem of the Black Sun, modified with 2 extensions on the upper sides resembling the tentacles of the Twi'leks. This emblem represented one of the 9 Vigos of the Black Sun, specifically Vigo Cash-Garelon, a Twi'lek known for his extensive involvement in spice smuggling. His operations spanned across the galaxy, underscoring the immense influence wielded by the Black Sun. Each of the organization's 9 Vigos controlled vast industries across dozens of galaxies, making them a formidable force that even ordinary planets could not contend with. The ability of a single Vigo to dispatch a fleet comprising over 100 ships, including a massive warship exceeding 800 meters in length, highlighted the vast resources at their disposal. This was in stark contrast to the Enterprise Alliance, which had managed to assemble a mercenary fleet of 400 ships during the Malastar planet dispute, demonstrating the scale of power the Black Sun commanded. While the Enterprise Alliance could potentially muster a similar force, the political and logistical pressures involved were significantly greater than those faced by the Black Sun. On the bridge of the Twin Spike, the Predator-class heavy supply ship Vigo Cash Garrelin sat leisurely in his chair, savoring a piece of fruit. He consumed the fruit with deliberate patience, savoring the juice before standing up. With a nonchalant demeanor, he commanded, "Broadcast an ultimatum on the public channel. Demand that Dawn Planet surrender their giant colony ship. Once they comply, I, Haishiwego Cash Garrelin, will ensure their safety. Henceforth, anyone who dares to threaten this planet will have to contend with my approval." Vol 2, Chapter 182, Desperate Resistance. As soon as the Black Sun's fleet, led by Vigo Cash Garrelin, arrived in the Endor system, they issued an ultimatum to Dawn. However, they were met with a fierce response. Chijan, appearing on the public channel, retorted sharply, "Black Sun, wasn't the lesson I taught you last time enough? If you wish to avoid repeating those mistakes, I suggest you retreat immediately." Despite his bold words, Chijan's calm demeanor barely concealed the panic within. Echoing his defiance, the hangar platform of the Glory Mothership opened, releasing 20 ghost fighters into space. Meanwhile, the 20 ships of the mercenary Red John formed a battle formation, cautiously remaining within the protective range of the mothership's guns. Vigo Cash Garrelin couldn't help but laugh at the sight. "Ha! Do you really think these pitiful ships of Red John can stand against my fleet? Your mothership isn't even armed. If I didn't care for the lives aboard, I could destroy you right now." Inside the Glory Mothership, a technical officer reported to Chijian, "He's not bluffing. Our calculations show that his fleet could breach our shields in 2 hours. If they use their large proton torpedoes, it could take less than an hour." Chijian smiled wryly, spreading his hands. "You see, I wasn't lying either." He then reconnected to the public channel, his voice filled with a mix of grief and defiance. "Come if you dare. On our planet Dawn, we have only ghosts who died in battle, no cowards who surrender." The Glory Mothership then made a beeline for the interstellar mining field near the Dole satellite, frantically gathering the engineering spaceships and transport ships. Some transport ships that had launched from Dawn turned back in panic, clearly unprepared for the Black Sun fleet's assault and lacking even the most basic evacuation plans. A cruel smile played on Cash Garrelin's lips, his tongue flicking over his sharpened teeth as if savoring the taste of blood. "Well then, don't blame me for my lack of courtesy. All ships attack. Cripple that mothership first. We have plenty of resources for ship repairs in the dark." The Black Sun fleet surged forward, closing the distance to the Glory Mothership, which was busy with the mining ships in the Dole satellite's mining area. They were soon to confront the fleet of the mercenary Red John. The red-haired Fallen, finally gathering his courage, connected to the public channel. "Vigo, Lord Garrelin, perhaps we should reconsider." Vigo Cash Garrelin looked at him with disdain. "This is Black Sun's operation. You're irrelevant here." Red John, clearly irritated by Garrelin's dismissive attitude, tried to reason more calmly. "Lord Garrelin, we all follow the unwritten laws of space. Please, let's be reasonable." "Rules? Haha. We are the Black Sun. We set the rules." Garrelin sneered. He then made a gesture, and holographic projections of several individuals appeared. Among them were a falling woman, a middle-aged human, and an elderly granite, all bound and surrounded by bandits with blasters aimed at their heads. Red John was visibly shocked. "Lord Garrelin, they're innocent. This isn't right." Jalen, his beloved mistress, along with Kairu and Morphs, who managed a spaceport and a ship repair shop for him, were among the hostages. These three were crucial to Red John, and their capture was a low blow. The tension was palpable as Red John, under the watchful eyes of the Black Sun fleet, reluctantly ordered his men, "Everyone, back up. Clear the way." His voice was strained, the weight of defeat evident in his tone. As his subordinates maneuvered the spaceship away, Red John couldn't hide his frustration. He initiated a communication link to Chi-Jian, his voice laced with regret. "I'm sorry, boss. This situation is beyond our control. I'll ensure the reward is returned to you." Chi-Jian, deeply engrossed in his command duties, acknowledged with a slight nod, his focus unwavering. The fighter jets of the Fourth Civilization, though ready for combat, instead opted for a defensive strategy, circling the Glory Mothership protectively. The evacuation was hampered by the sheer number of transport and mining ships, leading to a chaotic scene as ships scrambled, some attempting to bypass the queue in their haste. Kashgarulan observed the disarray among the transport ships with a detached air, commenting, "It seems some ships are trying to cut in line. This won't do. Let's help them organize a bit." Laughter echoed from the captains of several spaceships, a brief moment of levity amidst the tension. Suddenly, a CR-70 frigate, leading a group of over 20 spaceships, made a bold dash towards the Glory Mothership. The Black Sun fleet's acceleration sent ripples of panic through the mining and transport ships, causing disarray and even collisions among them. Amidst the chaos, Chi-Jian's voice boomed over the public channel. "Soldiers of the Fourth Group, protect our comrades, defend our homeland. Today, we stand united, even in death." The response from his troops was a somewhat mechanical, "Roger, Roger," prompting Chi-Jian to hastily mute his microphone, a flush of embarrassment crossing his face. Clearing his throat, he declared with renewed vigor, "Our faith will conquer all. Black Sun bandits, your efforts will be in vain." With his rallying cry, over 40 Blade fighter jets surged forward, fearlessly engaging the Black Sun detachment. These fighters, upgraded with primary energy shields, infrared laser weapons, and nuclear fusion engines, boasted significantly enhanced combat capabilities. "Destroy them," commanded the leader of the Black Sun fleet. The CR-70 frigate sprang into action, unleashing a barrage of laser and turbo-laser cannon fire. The vacuum of space was lit by the relentless exchange of fire, with several Blade fighters succumbing to the intense onslaught almost immediately. Yet, the Fourth Group's fighters did not waver. They pushed their engines to the limit, charging at the Black Sun fleet with a determination to buy time for the scattered mining ships. Meanwhile, the Glory Mothership's 5 large mass projectors roared to life, joining the fray with formidable firepower. Vol 2, Chapter 183, No Rules. The Glory Mothership was equipped with 5 large mass projectors, which, despite their formidable power, suffered from a narrow firing angle, rendering them more of a deterrent than a practical weapon. However, the moment the Mothership unleashed its firepower, it signaled the ignition of war. Kashgarulan, visibly annoyed, bellowed orders for all warships to advance, launching proton torpedoes from a distance. Given the Mothership's immense size, there was little concern over accidentally damaging their own vessel. At the forefront, 40 Blade fighters engaged with the vanguard of the Black Sun fleet, only to be decimated within the first 5 minutes of combat. Despite the one-sided slaughter, the pilots displayed remarkable courage, not one attempting to flee, fighting valiantly to the last. As the Black Sun fleet proved unstoppable, the Glory Mothership began an awkward retreat, along with several mining and transport ships that hadn't managed to dock in time. The 20 Ghost fighters, recognizing the dire situation, refrained from advancing, opting instead to seek refuge within the protective range of the Mothership's close-range artillery. Kashgarulan, with a fierce glint in his eye, commanded his fleet to pursue the Glory Mothership, which was near the mining area on planet Dole, adjacent to the under-construction frame of a colossal mining space station. Despite the space being cluttered with debris and rocks from the mining operations, these obstacles were rendered harmless by the spacecraft's deflector shields. Upon entering firing range, Kashgarulan, with a wave of his hand and a loud command, ordered, "What's this chaos? Fire! Destroy them all! Show no mercy to those who flee." Several CR-70 frigates launched salvos simultaneously, their turbo-laser turrets unleashing a barrage of energy beams that struck the fleeing mining and transport ships. The ships, lacking robust shields, were obliterated by the turbo-laser cannon fire, resulting in a chaotic spread of fireballs and twisted debris. The Black Sun crew erupted into wild laughter, reveling in the destruction. Cash Garland, with a smug grin, reclined in his chair, casually crossing his legs and biting into a piece of fruit with gusto. As the Black Sun fleet continued its relentless assault, the shockwaves from the explosions propelled the wreckage of spaceships outward. However, a keen observer might notice that not a single body was among the debris. In the midst of another explosion, the wreckage of a blade fighter, propelled by a shockwave, spun wildly, ejecting a damaged B-1 combat robot from the cockpit. The robot's metallic body, caught in the shockwave, collided with a piece of ore, cracking it open to reveal several metal probes with faintly blinking red tips beneath the rock surface. Yet, in the heat of battle, such details went unnoticed by the bloodthirsty Black Sun pirates. Suddenly, on Cash Garland's flagship, a radar operator, startled by the readings, turned to Garland and exclaimed, "Lord Garland, we have a problem. Hyperspace fluctuations detected. A fleet is approaching via hyperspace jump. Number 72. Garland, taken aback, leapt to his feet. Mo rushed over and seized the radar operator's shoulder, demanding further details. Loudly, he exclaimed, "What did you say? A fleet? Where did this fleet come from?" No sooner had the words left his mouth than bursts of white light flickered violently. In an instant, 72 spaceships emerged from hyperspace, positioning themselves behind the Black Sun fleet. Leading the formation was a Hammerhead-class cruiser, its hull painted a menacing black. It was followed by 6 Vengeance-class light destroyers and 5 Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigates, with 60 Hammer-class frigates bringing up the rear. This was, astonishingly, the fourth group. Garland, his fists clenched in anger, managed to utter a few words through gritted teeth. He now realized he had been deceived. Suddenly, a message appeared on the public channel, and a young man dressed in casual attire, as if on vacation, appeared in the holographic projection. Despite his youthful appearance, there was a somber aura about him, a mix of his looks and demeanor that made people hesitant to look at him twice. The young man waved nonchalantly and greeted, "Yo, you must be Vigo Cash Garland. It's such a pleasure. To actually see what you look like is fantastic. You don't even have a picture on the wiki, which piqued my curiosity." Garland, seething with rage, demanded, "Who are you, the leader of the fourth group?" With a smile, the young man introduced himself. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tang Xiao. Don't worry, I've activated electronic interference, so hyperspace communications are blocked. We can have a candid chat about what should and shouldn't be said. Do you really think your small fleet can defeat me? Do you believe the Black Sun is that simple? Garland retorted with venom in his voice. However, Tang Xiao didn't directly respond to his challenge. Instead, he initiated another communication request. Shortly after, John Red joined the public channel. Tang Xiao greeted him cheerfully. "Is that you, Red John? Please say hello to Jielin, Kailu, and Morastor for me." With a snap of his fingers, 3 figures appeared in the holographic projection, Red John's mistress and the 2 business owners. This time, however, they were free and looked around, bewildered. The camera then shifted to show several members of the Black Sun kneeling on the ground, their hands on their heads. Behind them stood several gunmen wearing animal masks, their weapons aimed at the captives' heads. "You still have to follow the rules, right, Garland?" Tang Xiao said playfully, his gaze fixed on the other man. "So, the consequences of not following the rules." He let his voice trail off as his fingers twitched casually. Bang! 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 Gunshots rang out, and the kneeling members of the Black Sun were executed simultaneously. "Okay, your issue is resolved, Red John. You won't lose a penny of the bounty. That's all for now. Just keep watching," Tang Xiao said, waving his hand dismissively. Vol 2, Chapter 184, The Nesting Doll. Star Wars, The Fourth Scourge. Galulin stared at Tang Xiao, his smile cold and mocking. "Humph, it seems that while I was investigating Red John, you were also investigating him, weren't you? To think you could pull off such a feat right under the nose of our Black Sun, you're quite something." "No, not at all," Tang Xiao replied, shaking his head earnestly before breaking into a bright smile. because this is just the beginning. I agree. Galulan's voice dropped to a menacing tone. Let me emphasize, do you really think that's all there is to Black Sun? Haha. Just a heads up, since you've initiated electronic interference, they must have realized that something's amiss. No sooner had he finished speaking than a flash of light illuminated the space behind the Fourth Group fleet. Suddenly, 50 spaceships, led by 3 CR-70 frigates, appeared out of nowhere. Forgot to mention, I have 10 CR-70 frigates at my disposal. Vigo Cash Galulan laughed sinisterly. Observing Galulan's main fleet and the reinforcements, Tang Xiao couldn't help but take a deep breath. The strength of Black Sun is formidable. Just one of the 9 Vigos can muster a force that far surpasses the Scarlet Dawn. Heh, Scarlet Dawn? Dryden Voss? He's merely a minor figure who's been making waves recently. Associating with someone like him shows your lack of significance, Galulan sneered. But let me make this clear. Kneel before me. Surrender this colossal spaceship. After that, you can join me, and I'll ensure you live a life of luxury on planet Endor, all under the protection of Cash Galulan. However, Tang Xiao seemed unfazed by his words, his gaze fixed on the 2 Black Sun fleets. With genuine interest, he remarked, "Nesting dolls, huh? I like that. So, is it my turn now?" With a wave of his hand, a shrill alarm blared from the consoles of every ship in Galulan's main fleet. The radar operator, panic-stricken, nearly screamed, "Lord Galulan, we're surrounded by countless signals. They're everywhere." "What signal?" Galulan barked. It's the signal from the surrounding debris and asteroids," the operator replied, voice trembling. Frustrated, Galulan shoved the operator aside and took control of the console himself. Zooming in on the optical image, he saw a metal ball resembling a sea urchin, bristling with probes, hidden beneath a shattered asteroid. It was a mine. Galulan felt as if his brain had exploded. Ah, by the way, those folks from the United Mining Group weren't very tidy, leaving debris scattered everywhere. I thought it was time for a cleanup. Tang Xiao's taunting voice came through the communication. But Galulan had no time to respond. In a desperate voice, he ordered, "Everyone, retreat, retreat!" But it was too late. Explosions rocked the space, severing communication on the public channel. Near the mining area around the planet Dole, the debris and asteroids detonated in unison. The simultaneous explosions created a spectacular, hellish sea of fire, turning the deep starry sky red. The devastating blasts obliterated nearly everything in the mine, including transport and mining ships. Even the framework of the giant mining space station under construction suffered severe damage, delaying the project by months. At the heart of this terrifying explosion was the Black Sun fleet, focused on bombarding the Glory Mothership and caught off guard by the mines hidden among the debris. Their formation was thrown into disarray. Nearly all of the 100 warships were caught in the blasts, showcasing the deadly efficiency of Tang Xiao's trap. The explosion engulfed everything in its vicinity. Smaller spaceships were instantly obliterated, while the larger ones sustained severe damage. The shockwave and electromagnetic pulse from the explosion disrupted all communications. Even if communication had remained intact, there was little anyone could do in the face of such devastation. The Mothership of the Glory, despite being caught in the blast, fared significantly better. Its shield, DS, flickered under the strain, but only suffered an 8% reduction in capacity, a stark contrast to the catastrophic losses endured by the Black Sun fleet. The explosion, though brief, was followed by a series of secondary blasts as the ammunition and fuel tanks of the destroyed spacecraft detonated. When the chaos subsided, less than 20 of the original 100 spaceships of the Black Sun fleet remained, the rest reduced to space debris. The surviving ships, primarily larger vessels with more robust shields, had managed to withstand the air mine's explosion. This included Cash Garulan's flagship, the Predator-class heavy supply ship, and the 7 CR-70 frigates, all of which relied on their shields for protection. A few other large spaceships survived thanks to their sturdy construction. Cash Garulan, bloodied and disheveled, picked himself up from the floor. The explosion had rocked his spaceship violently, throwing everyone to the ground and causing chaos akin to an earthquake. Amidst the disarray, Tang Xiao's voice crackled through the public communication channel, distorted and accompanied by a blurred holographic projection. Do you still have a trick up your sleeve? It's time for you to play your hand. In a rage, Cash Garland screamed threats of vengeance, his voice filled with fury and desperation. However, before he could act, Tang Xiao announced it was his turn to make a move. The hangar platform of the Glory Mothership opened once more, releasing 50 ghost fighters into the fray. The 20 ghost fighters that had previously kept their distance now charged forward with renewed bravery. With the Glory Mothership and the remnants of the Black Sun fleet in close proximity, the ghost fighters swiftly engaged the enemy. The 70 ghost fighters plunged into close combat, taking advantage of the disoriented state of the Black Sun fleet's crew. The sudden and aggressive maneuver left little room for the beleaguered fleet to mount any effective defense. Vol 2, Chapter 185, Despair. In the midst of the galactic conflict, the 70 ghost fighters launched a ferocious assault on the remnants of the Black Sun fleet. Only Cash Garland's flagship managed to deploy 30 Vulture robot fighters from its hangar in a desperate attempt to counter the attack. However, these robot fighters were at a significant disadvantage. They lacked the firepower of larger warships, were outnumbered, and their performance couldn't match that of the heavy ghost fighters. Moreover, the AI piloting the robots couldn't compete with the cunning and adaptability of human pilots. It wasn't long before all 30 Vulture fighters were obliterated. The ghost fighters, relentless in their pursuit, swarmed towards the Black Sun fleet like a pack of ravenous wolves. The pilots from the Fourth Civilization didn't hesitate to unleash all 20 of their onboard Gemini missiles the moment they engaged the enemy. The Black Sun fleet, still reeling from the initial explosion, was caught completely off guard. A staggering 1,400 Gemini missiles detonated amidst the fleet, decimating it. Tang Xiao, witnessing the destruction, couldn't help but wince at the cost. Each Gemini missile was valued at 1,000 credits on the black market. Yet, this overwhelming barrage left Black Sun's main fleet in ruins. Among the large warships, only 5 CR-70 frigates and Garulan's flagship, a Hunter-class heavy supply ship, remained, and even these survivors were barely functional, drifting helplessly like lifeless fish. The Predator-class heavy supply ship, an 800-meter behemoth, still had some fight left in it. Designed by the Trade Alliance with the potential for combat in mind, it boasted thick armor. However, it was primarily a supply ship, and Garulan had never intended it for battle. He valued it for its robust protection and spacious interior, which he had converted into a luxurious mobile villa. After ensuring the Black Sun fleet was incapacitated, the ghost fighters ceased their attack. Suddenly, 8 peculiar spaceships emerged from the Glory Mothership's hangar. These vessels, each 42 meters in length and 30 meters in width, had a compact, flat design. Equipped with docking devices resembling stun guns on either side, these ships lacked any offensive weaponry. Yet, they set a direct course for the Predator-class heavy supply ship. Realizing the threat, Cash Garland bellowed orders to intercept these ships and called desperately for reinforcements. The Predator-class's point defense systems fired wildly, but the 8 ships' shields and armor proved unexpectedly resilient, shrugging off the barrage as they closed in. What are they planning to do? Activate the defense robots. They might be attempting to board the ship. Garulan screamed in panic. The shields of his Hunter-class heavy supply ship had already been breached, and the 8 vessels were now attaching themselves to the supply ship, their docking devices cutting through the outer armor with sparks flying. Garulan's complexion turned ashen as he ordered a retreat and commanded the activation of the hyperspace engine, only to learn it had been damaged in the earlier mine explosion. Explosions rocked the supply ship, causing it to shudder violently. Amidst the chaos, the head of the damage control department reported the dire situation. The boarding of the Predator-class heavy supply ship by the 8 mysterious vessels marked a turning point in the battle. With precision and coordination, they breached the ship's defenses, their intentions clear yet terrifying. Garulan's calls for reinforcements echoed hopelessly as his once formidable flagship faced an unprecedented threat, encapsulating the despair that had befallen the Black Sun fleet. "Fighter jets are attacking our rescue capsule area," exclaimed one of the leaders, panic evident in his voice. Are they planning to annihilate everyone? The events unfolded with alarming rapidity. In just 10 minutes, the situation escalated from the detonation of air mines to the deployment of a ghost fighter fleet, decisively tipping to the scales of the battle. Garulan's last resort, a fleet of 50 spaceships led by 3 CR-70 frigates, witnessed their leader's dire predicament and responded with desperation. The entire fleet surged forward at maximum speed, charging towards the Glory Mothership with reckless abandon. However, penetrating the enemy's defenses was no simple feat. Igor Zavarov, the commander of the Fourth Civilization Fleet, was well prepared. At his command, the battle-ready fleet sprang into action. Cobalt alloy-class heavy frigates formed the front line, their dual heavy laser cannons unleashing a relentless barrage of blue laser beams. The Revenge-class light destroyers advanced, firing without pause, while the Hammer-class light frigates executed a coordinated assault. Amidst the chaos, the Fourth Civilization Fleet deployed its ghost fighters. After enduring a series of fierce engagements, 28 of the original 42 ghost fighters remained, all of which were now launched into the fray. In contrast, the Black Sun Squadron's arsenal consisted of a limited number of Vulture robot fighters, hardly a match for the formidable ghost fighters. A correction is in order. There were actually only 27 ghost fighters, as one was distinct from the rest. This unique fighter was dubbed the Red Comet. After a brief encounter with Cash Garulan, Tang Xiao donned a tight flight suit and boarded a Vengeance-class destroyer. He skillfully climbed into his personal aircraft, the Red Comet, which was docked on the exterior of the ghost fighter. Missile system, check. Avionics system, check. Radar system, check. Energy supply, check. Turbo laser cannon, check. Red Comet, ready for launch. Tang Xiao confirmed each system's status before initiating takeoff. The Red Comet disengaged from its dock, its anti-gravity device humming to life. As the fighter positioned itself beside the destroyer, its wings folded into an M shape, and its engines roared to life, emitting a powerful stream of particles. In an instant, the Red Comet vanished, accelerating at over 5,000 G, resembling a streak of red lightning. Meanwhile, Cash Garulan was engulfed in chaos. 8 peculiar ships had seized a Predator-class heavy supply ship and began slicing through its thick outer armor, a modification made by the Trade Alliance to facilitate alterations. The process took nearly 20 minutes, a duration in which the crew inside the supply ship could only listen to the harrowing sounds of their vessel being breached, powerless to intervene. It was a situation fraught with despair, akin to a condemned prisoner awaiting the slow approach of an executioner's bullet. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Hunter-class heavy supply ship Captor. Vol 2, Chapter 186, Lore. Star Wars, The Fourth Scourge. 8 peculiar spacecraft remained latched onto the exterior of Viggo Cash Garulan's flagship, a Hunter-class heavy supply ship, diligently continuing their efforts to slice through the ship's outer armor. Whoever destroys those spacecraft for me will receive 1 million credits, Cash Garulan bellowed, pointing at the spacecraft displayed on the screen. Yet, his declaration was met with silence. Only 6 spaceships remained in his main fleet, including his flagship. The other 5 CR-70 frigates were severely damaged, drifting aimlessly. Their ability to maintain life support was a testament to the superior craftsmanship of Corellia engineering. Cash Garulan's last resort was the 50 battleships arriving as reinforcements, a force he believed could crush any adversary. However, these ships were now locked in a fierce battle with the fleet of the Fourth Civilization, outmatched in both numbers and firepower, struggling to fend for themselves. "Boss, even if we wanted to earn that money, we can't even make it to space right now," a subordinate murmured. Cash Garulan slumped into his seat, staring vacantly out the window, lost in despair. After a long silence, he stood up with renewed determination, drew his blaster pistol, and declared, "Everyone, arm yourselves. The enemy might attempt to board and seize our ship. They won't give us a chance to survive. We must fight to the death. Activate all operational droids." Inspired by their leader's resolve, the crew's despondency diminished slightly. They began to prepare for a potential boarding, barricading the corridors with debris and assembling B-1 battle droids for defense. However, amidst these preparations, the operator at the console suddenly cried out, Someone is hacking our system. What? Cash Garrulon exclaimed in disbelief. That's impossible. Our spacecraft systems are independent. How could they be hacked? They've breached our system through the internal wiring. It's those 8 strange ships, the operator shouted, pointing outside. You mean those spacecraft aren't just here to board us? They're hacking our ship's operating system? Cash Garrulon felt as if the world was crumbling around him. Before he could process this revelation, the entire ship shuddered and began to move. They're towing our ship, someone yelled in panic. Start the engines. Don't let them take us, Cash Garrulon ordered. The engines have been offline for a while, the operator responded, frantically working the console before slamming his fist down in frustration. It's no use. The explosion from those mines earlier took out most of our systems. Suddenly, the console screen flooded with data, and the indicators for the engines lit up green. Wait, the engines are back online, the operator exclaimed, astonished. Then let's get out of here, now, Cash Garrulon urged, longing for the safety and comfort of his luxurious villa on planet Mercana. The Predator-class heavy supply ship's massive engines roared to life, and the ship began to accelerate. However, instead of escaping the battlefield, the ship was inexplicably propelled towards the massive mothership of their adversaries. What are you doing? Get us out of here, Cash Garrulon screamed in frustration. The operator desperately pressed various buttons, attempting to regain control, but to no avail. It's no use. I've tried everything. We can't override the controls. They've taken over our navigation system. As the realization set in, Cash Garrulon and his crew faced the grim prospect of being drawn inexorably towards the enemy, their fate now in the hands of those who had hijacked their ship. The ship! It can't turn, exclaimed the operator in a panic. Then how did you manage to start the engine just now? Garrulon roared, his voice echoing through the tense atmosphere. It wasn't the engine I started. The operator's voice trailed off, his mind racing with a dreadful possibility. The Predator-class heavy supply ship began to accelerate uncontrollably. The man at the bridge console was powerless, unable to steer or control the ship in any way. In a cruel twist of fate, the hunter had become the hunted. It's those 8 strange ships. They're behind this, another leader shouted in realization. But by then, it was too late. Acknowledging the source of their predicament offered them no solace or solution. Meanwhile, at the bridge command center of the Glory Mothership, Chi-Jan watched the spacecraft approaching the mothership's hangar. A sly smile crept onto his face. The Potter Mk2 rescue boat, a parting gift from the manager. Ha! The Potter Mk2 rescue boat, a light frigate from the Homeland technology tree, measured 42 meters in length, 30 meters in width, and stood 11 meters tall. Despite its somewhat bulky appearance, reminiscent of a short, stout man, the Potter Mk2 was far from a mere rescue vessel. In reality, it specialized in piracy and assassination. Built on the chassis of the Hammer-class light frigate, the Potter Mk2 was equipped with 2 sets of docking devices on its flanks. Each device housed a cutter and a data repeater. Once attached to an enemy battleship, these tools could breach the ship's outer armor and connect to its data link. The next step involved uploading a sophisticated artificial intelligence virus into the ship's systems. This virus was designed to analyze and seize control of the target spacecraft's operating system, effectively commandeering the vessel. In cases where the system proved too complex to override, the virus was capable of crippling the spacecraft's systems, rendering it a lifeless hulk of metal adrift in space. The attack method of the Potter Mk2 was nearly indefensible. It bypassed traditional defenses by injecting the virus directly into the spacecraft's data link, challenging the system's firewall head-on. Success meant gaining control of the vessel. Failure resulted in the destruction of its systems. However, for the Potter Mk2 to execute this strategy, it first had to neutralize the target's shields and disable any form of resistance. Otherwise, the target's close defense turrets could easily obliterate the rescue boats. This formidable capability was the result of Tang Xiao's acquisition of a complete host during his last visit to the Bando Gosa space station. There, he gathered extensive computer system data from the Star Wars universe. Through the collaborative efforts of the Computer Engineering Department and Super Lotus, the artificial intelligence virus on board the rescue boat was enhanced to function in this universe, turning it into a deadly weapon. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Potter Mk2 Rescue Boat. Volume 2, Chapter 187, The End of Star Wars: The Fourth Scourge. 8 Porter Mk2 rescue boats, with a mix of towing and self-propulsion, made their way toward the colossal Mothership of the Glory, accompanied by a Predator-class heavy supply ship. Within the flagship of Vigo Cash Garrulon, a core leader of the galaxy's most formidable criminal organization, Black Sun, a sense of despair permeated the air. The individuals aboard this spacecraft were renowned figures of the criminal underworld, with Garrulon himself possessing the power to dictate the fate of entire planets with a mere word. This was no exaggeration, given the formidable fleet of over 150 spaceships at his command, which left planets in the outer rim at his mercy. However, the tables had turned, and these once feared individuals could only watch in despair as their spacecraft was gradually commandeered. Their survival to this point was not a testament to their ruthlessness or strength, but rather the interest someone had taken in their spaceship. Cash Garrulon's breathing grew erratic, his muscular chest heaving like boulders, his eyes reddening, and the 2 tentacles at the back of his head flailing aimlessly. The underworld boss, who once commanded great power, had lost all composure. As the massive mothership outside the window grew larger, eventually obscuring the starry universe from view, Garrulon rushed to the porthole, pounding on it in a frenzy. "No, no, no! Make them stop! Make them stop!" he screamed, but it was futile. The entrance to the vast hangar of the Glory Mothership slowly opened, its pale blue energy field casting a reflection of their terrified faces. They could faintly make out a group of figures assembling in the hangar. In a panic, Garrulon rushed to another porthole, gazing into the distant starry sky where his backup fleet was engaged in battle. Although the spaceships were too far to be seen, the occasional explosions lighting up the sky were visible. "Save me! Come and save me!" he cried out in desperation. A flash of red lightning streaked across the sky, moving at speeds invisible to the naked eye. A series of precise energy beams struck the energy node of a Black Sun Fleet spaceship, causing the 40-meter-long vessel, already under duress, to explode violently. Tang Xiao, seated in the cockpit of his fighter, felt a rush of exhilaration. The thrill of the kill was intoxicating, and his connection to the dark side of the Force seemed to grow stronger with each act of violence. Garrulon's desperate screams seemed to echo across the cosmos. Tang Xiao glanced toward the mothership, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Dark smoke swirled around him, forming twisted faces. With a malevolent grin, he pushed the joystick forward, and his Red Comet fighter jet accelerated to over 3,000 G, maneuvering at angles that defied imagination. He evaded all incoming fire, setting his sights on a CR-70 frigate engaged with a Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate. "That red fighter jet! Quickly! Kill him!" The crew aboard a Black Sun spaceship shouted in panic. "We can't lock on. He's too fast. His speed and agility are unmatched. He's here. Fire! Fire!" Despite their efforts, they were unable to target the elusive fighter. Even the combined firepower of several spaceships, forming a dense barrage, failed to land a single hit. Instead, the fighter jet, after effortlessly destroying all deployed Vulture robot fighters, coordinated with its own fleet to target the vulnerable engines of the spacecraft. This forced the enemy ships to divert a portion of their energy to reinforce their shields, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. As the battle raged on, the situation quickly turned dire for the Black Sun's support fleet. With a formidable array of 72 spaceships from the Fourth Civilization, including the 315-meter-long Hammerhead-class cruiser, Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigates, and Vengeance-class light destroyers, their firepower was overwhelming. It rivaled, if not surpassed, that of the CR-70. The Black Sun's fleet, initial lie intended as a mere backup, was outmatched and outgunned. Under the command of Tang Xiao, the Red Comet skillfully dismantled their formation, picking off the enemy ships with devastating firepower. Soon, the remnants of the Black Sun fleet, now reduced to a dozen or so ships, attempted to flee, their morale shattered. However, escape was futile. The Red Comet, swift and relentless, quickly caught up to them. Tang Xiao launched a ferocious assault on their engines. A few desperate ships attempted to lower their shields and jump to hyperspace, only to be obliterated by Gemini missiles that penetrated their engines and ignited the energy cabins, turning them into fiery wrecks. Meanwhile, Cash Garland watched in disbelief from the porthole of his spacecraft. Before him lay an immense square bustling with activity. Transport ships and engineering vehicles moved back and forth, transporting materials. Mountains of goods and ammunition were sorted by large robotic arms in the hangar of the super-large mothership he had once coveted. Now, all that remained was fear. As 8 rescue boats towed his spacecraft into the hangar, there was an attempt to shut down the life-sustaining systems of the spacecraft. However, the technicians on board fought desperately to keep them running, sparing themselves a grim fate. The rescue boats then turned their attention to the 5 crippled CR-70 frigates left adrift outside. In groups of 4, they towed the frigates into the hangar, placing them alongside the Hunter-class heavy supply ships. Human soldiers, accompanied by thousands of B-1 combat robots, boarded the frigates. The frigates, lacking the advanced mainframe computing power of the Predator class and severely damaged from earlier explosions, had their life support systems shut down by the rescue teams. This act suffocated any crew members who had survived the initial blasts. The only resistance came from a few B-1 battle droids carried by the ships, a common sight across the galaxy, used by nearly every organization. Garland, driven to despair, pounded on the porthole of his spacecraft, roaring in anguish. But his protests were in vain. The sound of a welding gun signaled the beginning of the end as it started to work on the hatch of their ship. Vol 2, Chapter 188, The Killing. On the bridge of the Predator-class heavy supply ship, Cash Garland listened to the sound of electric welding outside the door, his body enveloped in a cold dread. Through the window, he observed a red ghost fighter gracefully entering the vast hangar, coming to a halt beside his spaceship. The arrival of the fighter jet prompted the surrounding soldiers to immediately straighten up, aligning neatly on both sides of the jet in a ceremonial welcome. A figure cloaked in black emerged from the cockpit, leaping down to the ground. The soldiers around saluted in unison, their voices echoing in a chorus of slogans. Witnessing this grand reception, Garland's face drained of color. Tang Xiao disembarked from the Red Comet, his gaze sweeping over the colossal Predator-class heavy supply ship before him. Stretching 800 meters in length, the ship towered like a giant, making a person standing before it seem as insignificant as an ant at the foot of an elephant. The ship's height surpassed 90 meters, akin to gazing down from a 30-story building. Escorted by several soldiers, Tang Xiao approached the spacecraft's door, where 2 SCVs were diligently working to force the door open with industrial-grade welding guns. Xiao Guanghua, the commander-in-chief of the 4th Civilization Army, stood at the ready in his military uniform, an M8 Avenger pulse rifle in hand, flanked by a squad of fully armed soldiers. Upon seeing Tang Xiao, Xiao Guanghua rushed forward, saluting, "Manager, we're attempting to breach the door since the rescue boat's hatch won't budge. The spacecraft's outer armor is exceptionally thick, requiring another 5 minutes for the SCVs." Tang Xiao inquired, "You're not planning to take action yourself, are you?" Xiao Guanghua laughed heartily. "I've been cooped up in the office all day. Now that I have a chance to engage in battle, I can't let it pass. You're the commander-in-chief of our army. It's unwise for you to join the front line like this," Tang Xiao remarked. "But manager, you always lead from the front. I've survived numerous battlefields before," Xiao Guanghua countered. Tang Xiao smiled. "Still, there's a difference." He raised his hand slightly, summoning a metal handle from his waist, which flew into his grasp. With a press of a button, a crimson plasma lightsaber extended to about 1.2 meters, its energy causing a soft, buzzing sound. "Stand behind me," Tang Xiao instructed, not wanting to indulge him further. "Understood. I'll ensure the mission's success." Xiao Guanghua responded enthusiastically, his confidence bolstered by the sight of the lightsaber. Tang Xiao positioned himself at the cabin door, ready for what lay beyond. "Be cautious, manager. They're likely lying in ambush," Xiao Guanghua warned. Without a word, Tang Xiao waited until the SCVs had cut through a significant portion of the hatch with their welding tools. Then, with a mere gesture, he unleashed an invisible force that flung the heavy hatch open with explosive force, sending it crashing inward like a cannonball. The Black Sun members and B-1 battle robots lying in ambush were caught completely off guard, obliterated by the hatch's impact. Energy beams erupted, targeting the ceiling as Tang Xiao, with a flick of his wrist, sent the blood-stained door soaring once more, only to brutally crash down upon the corridor on the opposite side. Almost simultaneously, a group of adversaries rounded the corner, only to be met with the door's massive shadow descending upon them. It was as if they had rushed to their doom, the door crushing them into oblivion. With a sneer, Tang Xiao turned to Xiao Guanghua. "Follow." Bursting into the fray, Xiao Guanghua was momentarily taken aback by Tang Xiao's formidable display of power. However, he quickly gathered his wits and led a contingent of soldiers and B-1 combat robots onto the battleship. The air was filled with the sound of blaster pistols as several members of the Black Sun opened fire on Tang Xiao. With graceful ease, Tang Xiao wielded his light saber, deflecting every blaster beam aimed at him. His mentor, Darth Plagueis, had once shown him the technique of using a lightsaber to parry attacks, a skill that Tang Xiao found surprisingly straightforward. Given his mastery over the dark side of the Force, predicting the trajectory of the incoming shots and using his lightsaber, enveloped in the Force, to deflect them was almost effortless. Although he was not yet able to redirect the blaster beams back at his attackers and felt somewhat pressured by the sheer volume of fire, Tang Xiao stood unassailable before the members of the Black Sun, a deity among mortals. The barrage of energy beams seemed to halt magically a meter away from Tang Xiao, as if repelled by an invisible barrier, all thanks to his lightsaber. "Shoot! Kill him!" one shouted in desperation. He can deflect blaster beams. How?" Another exclaimed in disbelief. Amidst the chaos, Tang Xiao advanced slowly, a chilling smile on his face, utterly unstoppable. "Don't let him get closer, keep firing," they cried out in vain. The might of Tang Xiao's lightsaber was undeniable, yet in a swift motion, he propelled himself forward using the Force, moving as swiftly as a bullet. Mid-air, he extended his hand, unleashing an invisible Force wave that sent his adversaries flying backward in disarray. Then, with a swift motion of his lightsaber, he cleaved through the disoriented members of the Black Sun, slicing them into pieces mid-air. The searing heat of the lightsaber cauterized the wounds instantly, leaving no blood to spill, only the sound of severed limbs and heads raining down. Tang Xiao moved through the crowd with the grace of a dancer, his scarlet lightsaber reaping lives with each swing. "No, don't come here. Help!" A terrified Black Sun member whimpered, cowering against the wall, too paralyzed with fear to even fire his blaster pistol. With a flash of red light, the man's head was severed, soaring into the air. Tang Xiao approached the decapitated head, pointed his lightsaber at the forehead, and a black smoke emerged, containing a writhing figure that screamed as it was absorbed by the lightsaber. Similar wisps of black smoke rose from the surrounding corpses, each screaming as they were drawn into the lightsaber. Dragging his lightsaber behind him, Tang Xiao left a deep, molten scar in the metal floor, effortlessly bisecting a corpse as if it were mere tofu. Witnessing this horrifying spectacle, another wave of Black Sun members, initially rushing in to confront him, were seized by terror and fled in the opposite direction. Volume 2, Chapter 189, The Death Flagship of Vigo Cash Garulan. On the Predator-class heavy supply ship, chaos reigned. Gunshots, curses, and screams echoed from the surveillance footage, yet those on the bridge sought refuge in ignorance, burying their heads or covering their ears, unwilling to witness the massacre unfolding outside. Vigo Cash Garulan oscillated between laughter and roars, his sanity seemingly slipping away. Amidst the turmoil, the bridge's alarm blared. A direct attack was imminent. Eyes turned to the sealed bridge door as a spot along its seam glowed red, smoke curling from the intense heat. The metal, unable to withstand the temperature, began to melt, dripping molten iron that set the luxurious carpet ablaze with a foul stench. The breach widened as a blood-red plasma light blade, the instrument of destruction, sliced through the metal, rendering the once formidable barrier as fragile as wax. Eventually, the door collapsed, revealing a figure shrouded in a black cloak, his face obscured by a hood and a mysterious mist, leaving no detail memorable. Yet, his cold, cruel smile and the blood-red lightsaber in his grasp were unmistakably clear. A palpable dread filled the bridge, the crew's screams of terror echoing in their minds. One crew member, overcome by fear, discarded his weapon and pleaded for mercy, setting off a chain reaction of surrender among the others. They begged for forgiveness, hoping for clemency from the menacing figure before them. Surrender? Tang Xiao echoed mockingly, his laughter chilling to the bone. Why would you think surrender is an option? On this ship, only those I chose not to see had a chance at mercy, and now your fates are sealed. With a slow, deliberate pace, Tang Xiao advanced, his lightsaber humming ominously, surrounded by a swirling black mist. I've come to understand my gift in the Force. Death. I don't know why I possess this power, but I will use it, gratefully, to bring death. As he spoke, a swift movement of his lightsaber sent a head soaring into the air, igniting a desperate fight for survival among the crew. Realizing their pleas were in vain, they armed themselves, determined to resist. The bridge erupted into chaos. Gunshots, lightsaber clashes, screams, and curses filled the air. Amidst the violence, Vigo Cash Garulan stood motionless, witnessing the deadly dance orchestrated by Tang Xiao, a dance that spelled doom for all who stood against him. Amidst the chaos of battle, with red lightsabers, green blasters, and orange flames casting an eerie glow on his face, Tang Xiao stood unflinchingly on the bridge. Soon, he was the only one left standing, surrounded by the aftermath of the conflict and the lifeless body of his foe. Approaching the defeated Vigo Cash Garulan, Tang Xiao observed him with a cold detachment. Vigo Cash Garulan, it's a pleasure to meet you, he said, his voice steady and devoid of emotion. Garulan, broken and muttering incoherently, was a shadow of his former self. His spirit had shattered beyond repair. With a swift motion, Tang Xiao activated his blood-red lightsaber, decapitating Garulan in one clean stroke. The headless body collapsed with a heavy thud. Tang Xiao then grasped the tentacles at the back of Garulan's head, took the severed head, and handed it to a soldier waiting outside. Prepare a spaceship with a Bacta jar. Place this head inside. I want the brain cells kept alive, he commanded. The soldier snapped to attention, saluting before taking the head to carry out Tang Xiao's orders. The fall of Vigo Cash Garulan, one of the 9 Vigos of the Black Sun, marked a significant victory for the Fourth Civilization. The Black Sun had thrived in the galaxy's underworld for millennia, not through brute force, but via an extensive network of smuggling, bribery, assassination, and kidnapping. However, Garulan's downfall was precipitated by his own greed. When Tang Xiao had dispatched Ni Yongxiao with a fleet to locate and destroy the Black Sun's stronghold, they had not achieved an outright victory. Yet they gained valuable insight into Garulan's operations. Despite his brash and reckless demeanor, Garulan was no fool. His power was dispersed, much like his fellow Vigos. Direct confrontation, as Ni Yongxiao quickly realized, was futile. The key was to draw Garulan out by exploiting his greatest weakness. This strategy was masterminded by Baron Helmut Zemo. He knew that Garulan coveted the Glory Mothership, having learned of its capabilities when he first deployed the hyperspace blocker in the Endor system. Understanding Garulan's ambitions, Zemo crafted a plan to exploit them. By feigning the destruction of the Fourth Group fleet in the Battle of Malestar Fjord and concealing his own forces, Zemo spread false intelligence. With their fleet hidden and supplied for 15 days, they waited for Garulan to make his move. Believing the Endor Galaxy fleet to be vulnerable, Garulan's greed led him to assemble a formidable fleet of 150 spaceships from his scattered smuggling network, aiming to seize control of the Endor Galaxy. However, Garulan's decision sealed his fate. Professor Qi Jianjun had prepared 2 surprises for the overconfident Vigo: air mines from the Emergency Traders Alliance and the Potter Mk2 rescue boat. The details of the ensuing battle mattered little. What mattered was the outcome, and ultimately, Tang Xiao emerged victorious, opening a new chapter in the ongoing conflict. Vol 2, Chapter 190, The Gate of War. After Tang Xiao confirmed his arrival in the Star Wars universe, he leveraged his knowledge of the storyline to devise a strategic plan for himself. The cornerstone of his strategy was to adapt and follow the natural course of events. At this juncture, neither Tang Xiao nor the Fourth Civilization possessed the capability to sway the overarching narrative. Even the vast database within the Mothership offered no tangible advantage, as possessing advanced technology is futile without the means to construct it and the numbers to wield it effectively in warfare. Thus, Tang Xiao's sole reliance was on the unfolding plot. This rationale propelled him to Tatooine alongside Kun Te during his initial unstable phase. His objective was simple: to latch onto the storyline, thereby positioning himself to benefit maximally from each plot development by aligning with the eventual victors. For instance, aware that Darth Plagueis would meet his demise in 3 years, Tang Xiao decisively joined his ranks as a disciple. Similarly, knowing that Admiral Trench would suffer severe injuries in the Battle of Malastare Fjord, leading to an initial victory followed by defeat, Tang Xiao aligned with the Enterprise Alliance. He claimed the bounty, rescued Trench, and left the Jedi Knights without a rival. As for the Black Sun, Tang Xiao was well aware of their impending doom just before the Battle of Naboo in 32 BBY, which was still 2 years away. Given his association with Darth Plagueis, he was cognizant of the impending conflict with the Black Sun, as it was under Darth Plagueis's direct orders to dismantle them. Rather than allowing others to obliterate the Black Sun and claim their assets, Tang Xiao preferred to spearhead the operation himself. Thus, initiating a full-scale war with the Black Sun and seizing the opportunity became the Fourth Civilization's strategy to navigate the plot. However, engaging the Black Sun was no straightforward task. Being a criminal syndicate rather than a planetary or national entity, their operations were shrouded in secrecy, making them difficult to target. Therefore, Tang Xiao required a catalyst, a gate of war, to launch an all-out conflict between the Fourth Civilization and the Black Sun. The assassination of Vigo Cash Garulan, one of the 9 Vigos of the Black Sun, provided just that. With his status within the organization, he likely possessed extensive knowledge about the Black Sun, which could now be leveraged to strike decisively at the heart of the Syndicate. In preparation, the Fourth Civilization fleet underwent emergency maintenance. Crew members were given leave and psychological counseling, with those unfit for immediate combat duty also sent on leave. Ammunition, energy, and supplies were promptly replenished. The fleet suffered losses in the previous battle, including 17 Ghost Fighters, 6 Hammer-class corvettes, and 3 Cobalt-class heavy frigates. However, these were quickly replaced, and the fleet's combat effectiveness was not only restored but enhanced with the addition of 5 newly completed Pulsar Star light frigates and 1 Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate, significantly boosting its firepower. 3 days later, under the command of Igor Zavalov, the fleet emerged from the Glory Mothership's vast hangar, activated its hyperspace engine, and vanished into the cosmos. This fleet was now designated as the Fourth Civilization's A-Fleet. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao continued to advance his plans. A Priest-class shuttle landed in the Mothership's hangar, and the Super Lotus disembarked. She surveyed the Hunter-class coins. In the hangar, a heavy supply ship loomed large, its presence dominating the space. Escorted by several B-1 battle droids, the remnants of a fierce battle were evident in the corridor leading to the core of the ship. Despite the removal of all corpses, the scars of conflict were unmistakable. Melted metal on the floors, doors, and walls painted a vivid picture of the chaos that had unfolded. Super Lotus couldn't help but feel her heartbeat quicken at the sight. In the core computer cabin beneath the bridge, Tang Xiaozheng and the electronic engineering team were gathered. Among them, the master computer expert, Tremi Brad, was a sight to behold. With a bag of potato chips in one hand and the other dancing over the keyboard, he made coding in standard language look effortless, the code flowing across the screen like a swift stream. Chao Lianhua approached Tang Xiao with a casual air. "Hey boss, is this the high-ranking Black Sun spaceship you mentioned? We sure gave it a good beating." Tang Xiao offered a slight smile in response. Indeed, this was the vessel of Vigo Cash Garulan, one of the 9 Vigos of the Black Sun. He was particularly fond of this ship, treating it more like a personal villa. Before our A-Fleet returns, we need to sift through the ship's database. Chao Lianhua played with her hair. Database sorting isn't exactly my forte. Brad, still munching on his chips, interjected, "Ah, I've got it. Boss, there's indeed a secret plan hidden within this ship's database. It seems to be what you were after." Tang Xiao turned to Super Lotus with a smile. I need you to infiltrate the Black Sun's network using Galulan's credentials to monitor their activities. This is what we discussed, and now that we have what we need, it's your turn to shine. Okay, I'll give it a shot, Super Lotus replied, pulling out her micro-terminal and connecting it to the spacecraft's mainframe. Hey Brad, I need a database index and access permissions. Brad, now out of chips, grinned and eagerly assisted Super Lotus with the data preparation. Satisfied with their progress, Tang Xiao nodded approvingly and exited the spaceship. Descending to the hangar, he observed hundreds of technicians bustling around the 5 captured CR-70 frigates. Now part of the Fourth Civilization Navy, these ships were being upgraded to light destroyers. The engineering department, along with over 20 SCVs and hundreds of B-1 battle droids, were deeply engaged in discussions on how to repair and modify the ships efficiently, given the extensive damage. Spotting Tang Xiao, an engineer hurried over with enthusiasm. Boss, when will this Predator be assigned to our engineering department? We've already devised a modification plan. This will be our first aircraft carrier. Vol 2, Chapter 191, Assassination Plan. In the middle ring of the Milky Way, on the edge of Hutt space, lies the planet Cyrilia. A sudden and terrifying attack was launched on a refinery in the planet's industrial zone by a group of militants. These attackers were distinguished by their fearsome animal bone helmets, and their eyes glowed with a sinister scarlet light. The refinery, poorly defended, fell quickly to the hundreds of militants who then absconded with an unknown quantity of rare elements. The Solarian Planetary Defense Force responded swiftly. Despite their warnings being ignored, they opened fire. To their horror, the militants seemed impervious to pain. Even after being shot multiple times, they continued their assault with ferocious howls. This unexpected resilience shattered the morale of the Planet Defense Force. They were pursued through the streets by the militants until fighter jets arrived, bombarding the attackers and averting a complete disaster. The majority of the militants were killed, but a few were captured and interrogated by the authorities. However, these efforts were futile. The prisoners behaved more like wild beasts, driven by instinct to attack any living creature in their vicinity. Brainwave detectors revealed significant damage to their brains, akin to the effects of excessive spice consumption. Yet, this did not explain their ability to act with such organized aggression. The only useful information gleaned was that the militants were previously reported as missing persons from nearby towns. The whereabouts of the stolen rare elements remained a mystery, presumed lost amidst the chaos. A day later, in Coghive 7, a secret space prison of the highest security, a cloaked figure threw a man to the ground as if he were nothing more than a rag doll. Revealing himself to be a Zabrak, his red skin and black markings were striking, covering his entire body and face. The man on the ground, a Twi'lek human hybrid, was petrified, desperately trying to crawl away from the menacing figure. The Zabrak, stepping on the man's chest, demanded in a grim tone, "Iram Radek, where is the nuclear device you designed?" Stammering in fear, Iram could barely respond. The Zabrak's impatience grew, and he used the dark force to pry the information from Iram's mind. I buried it, under a tree on the east side of the prison Colosseum," Iram confessed, his mind clouded by fear. "Very good. Now, you won't remember my visit," the Zabrak said with a sinister smile before kicking Iram aside, rendering him unconscious. The Zabrak then effortlessly leaped over the prison walls, disappearing into the night. Moments later, a spaceship quietly departed from the space prison. Aboard the spaceship, the Zabrak contacted his master. Kneeling respectfully, he reported to the holographic figure of Darth Sidious, "I've secured Iram's nuclear device, my lord." Darth Sidious, with a slight lift of his hawk-like nose, let out a raspy laugh. Very good. Darth Maul, take the device to Narsada. Someone there will meet you. Hand over the device to him." "Yes, my lord," Darth Maul responded, bowing his head. "Ensure you weren't followed or spotted?" Darth Sidious inquired further. "No, my lord. I adhered strictly to your instructions, avoiding the use of my lightsaber or anything that might betray my identity. I remained undetected. However, I have noticed that the Interstellar Banking Association's high-priced agents seem to be investigating the matter," Darth Maul reported. Darth Sidious's interest piqued at this information, hinting at a larger scheme at play, one that involved not just the theft of a nuclear device, but a plan that could shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Darth Maul spoke with determination. Ignore the insignificant ones. As long as you continue to move through the darkness and the shadows, they will become your prey at any moment. Darth Sidious responded with a chilling tone. Proceed with your mission now. Do not waste my time. Understood. Darth Maul remained key, kneeling on one knee until the holographic projection before him vanished. Only then did he rise to his feet. He piloted his spaceship into the hyperspace channel, setting a direct course for the heart of Hutt space, the smuggler's moon, Nasada. It was the most chaotic and darkest planet in the galaxy. The individual he was to meet there was peculiar. He wore a helmet made of beast bones. His skin was a lifeless gray, and his eyes emitted a faint blue glow. His deep voice sounded as if he had swallowed a piece of rust. Where is the nuclear device? Hand it over to me. Darth Maul sneered. You reek of death. I suggest you watch your tone unless you wish for me to lose my patience and decapitate you. Just give me the device. After that, we'll have no further dealings with each other. Darth Maul scoffed, showing no interest in prolonging their interaction. He tossed the device to the man and then turned to leave. Meanwhile, in the Endor system aboard the bridge of the Honor's Mothership, Luo Feng from the Computer Engineering Department approached Tang Xiao with a report. Sir, we've confirmed through Galilean's database that the Black Sun is seeking materials to construct a supernuclear bomb via the terrorist organization Bando Gosa. How advanced is their search? Tang Xiao inquired. They're looking for radioactive material and a nuclear device capable of detonating the bomb. They require the device to be sufficiently concealed, ideally something compact. This would allow them to make the nuclear bomb extremely small, Luo Feng explained. When do they plan to execute this? Tang Xiao asked. They're waiting for someone named G to provide a specific time, and then they intend to detonate the nuclear bomb at a location known as S, Super Lotus added, rushing over with a miniature personal terminal in hand. Tremi Bullard followed closely, his belly swaying. Tang Xiao's brow furrowed in thought. Don't bother guessing. G is undoubtedly Ghidorah the Hutt, and S refers to the Sojourn planet, the secret base of Hago Damask II. The real question is how Ghidorah, being confined in the Tower of Tuin, came to know about Hago's whereabouts. Unless... After a moment of contemplation, Tang Xiao had a realization. Ah, of course, the apprentice of Mr. Heige. Super Lotus, are you able to track their current whereabouts? Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Zabrak Darth Maul. Vol 2, Chapter 192, Invasion of Murkana. Super Lotus rapidly tapped the keyboard, then responded, I believe it's feasible. Currently, Black Sun, Bando Gosa, and the planet Naboo are all secretly advancing the production of this supernuclear bomb. Moreover, they've left some traces on the holographic internet. There's someone else orchestrating this from behind the scenes. However, to avoid drawing attention, he won't act directly. Instead, he'll likely inform Ghidorah of Black Godamask II's location, then have Ghidorah relay this information to Black Sun, prompting them to act, Tang Xiao explained. If that's the case, then our task becomes simpler. We already have Ghidorah in our custody, Super Lotus said with a slight smile. However, we mustn't lower our guard elsewhere. Given Ghidorah's current predicament, I'm certain Blackie's unassuming apprentice is also aware of it, Tang Xiao added, before turning to say, also, summon Ni Yongxiao. He's the best person for the job at hand. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, near the planet Murkana, a fleet of over 70 spaceships emerged from hyperspace with a burst of light. This was the Fourth Civilization's Fleet A. Despite the Hammerhead-class cruiser Iron Tooth having returned to Tatooine to resume its piratical activities, Fleet A still boasted 6 Vengeance-class light destroyers and 3 Cobalt-class heavy frigates, along with a considerable number of Hammer-class and Pulsar-class light frigates. This formidable force was more than enough to intimidate the planet Murkana. Shortly after exiting hyperspace, the Murkana Planetary Security Administration cautiously inquired, May I ask which fleet this is, and the purpose of your visit? We are the fleet of the Fourth Group, here to search for illegal organizations, Igor Zavalov replied coldly. The Enterprise Alliance is the largest company on planet Mercana, and there are no illegal organizations here. Please verify your information, the planetary security chief said, muffling the microphone as he urgently instructed his aide, "Quickly, contact the Enterprise Alliance. They're the only ones who can handle this." Request denied. Due to the urgency of the situation, we are commencing our operation immediately, Igor declared, then signaled, "Deploy the landing troops." The Ghost Fighters, carried by the Vengeance-class light destroyers, detached from the ships, unfolded their wings, and formed combat formations in the sky. Each Vengeance-class destroyer could carry 4 Ghost Fighters, totaling 24 across 2 squadrons. They escorted the 4 APOD 33 transport planes from the fleet as they descended into the planet's atmosphere. The capital of Mercana was thrown into a state of alarm by this near invasion, yet the planetary government hesitated to take any rash action. "Report to the governor of the planet," an official said urgently. "Has there been any response from the Enterprise Alliance?" was the immediate concern, highlighting the ironic reliance on the very organization that might be their biggest hope. "They've responded. They claim it's none of their business," came the reply, causing disbelief. How could they allow an invading fleet to enter Mercana unchallenged? It appears the Enterprise Alliance might be acquainted with the invaders. This revelation left the planetary sheriff speechless. Meanwhile, Igor Zavalov was in communication with a representative of the Enterprise Alliance. Kuriva, the representative, assured with a smile, "Governor Pascal Argent has said we will definitely support the 4th Group's operation. We owe you our gratitude for the last battle at Malastar Fjord, which saved our fleet. Please extend my thanks to Governor Argent. Our mission is to target a stronghold of Black Sun, and we hope for the Enterprise Alliance's cooperation," Igor Zavalov said. "Black Sun?" The representative was momentarily taken aback, but quickly recovered. "I'll relay this to Governor Argent." After a brief pause, the representative reconnected, this time with a noticeably different attitude. Igor's tone was icy as he addressed the situation. "Governor Pascal Argent has informed us that Mercana is a key client planet for the corporate alliance, and we are capable of resolving this issue on our own. I expect your fleet to withdraw within 10 minutes, or we will be forced to take action." His sneer was unmistakable. The Black Sun's long-standing presence on Mercana suggested an inevitable collusion with the corporate alliance. Yet, Igor remained unfazed. If Pascal Argent is prepared to simultaneously antagonize the 4th Group, Damask Holding Group, and the Interstellar Banking Association, then he should proceed. The representative from the corporate alliance bristled with anger. "What do you mean by that?" Igor's response was dismissive. "Exactly as I said. You're not of sufficient rank. Have Pascal Argent come to me directly, or better yet, let him speak with Black Damask II himself." The communication was abruptly severed by the corporate alliance's representative. Meanwhile, the 4th Group's Ghost Fighters had reached their target, unleashing a devastating barrage from their pulse laser cannons upon a sprawling villa by the sea. In response, various ships launched from different parts of the planet, including those of bounty hunters and, notably, the Black Sun. A fierce aerial battle ensued above the villa. When communications were re-established, a holographic projection revealed a turquoise-skinned Kuriva, none other than Governor Pascal Argent of the corporate alliance. Beads of cold sweat dotted his forehead as he stammered apologies. "I'm sorry, sir. I was unaware of your connection with Teacher Hyge." His demeanor was markedly different from the authoritative stance he had previously maintained in the Galactic Council, now replaced by a cautious tone to avoid provoking any further ire. This shift in attitude underscored the gravity of his recent conversation with King Hago Damask II. To draw an analogy from Earth, the Interstellar Banking Association could be likened to a colossal financial entity formed by the merger of all 21st-century Earth banks, while the corporate alliance resembled a vast multinational conglomerate. For the latter, circumventing bank loans for business ventures was always a possibility. "So, are you now willing to cooperate?" Igor inquired, his tone laced with a hint of challenge. "We will immediately recall our fighter jets to support your operations," Pascal Argent confirmed, his voice firm. He had quickly sensed the shifting dynamics. Although King Hago Damask-Seth had not explicitly stated his intentions during their brief exchange, the underlying message was clear. He intended to make an example of the Black Sun. In this galaxy, those targeted by Black J Damask II rarely, if ever, escaped his reach unscathed. Vol 2, Chapter 193. The plan begins. Boom! Boom! 2 Gemini anti-aircraft missiles exploded against the hull of a bounty hunter spaceship. The spacecraft lost control, spiraling down before crashing into a gorgeously decorated villa, erupting in a violent explosion. The aerial battle was nearing its end. The 24 Ghost Fighters, originally stationed on the planet Mercana, along with the remnants of the Black Sun's forces, stood no chance. The Enterprise Alliance's fighter jets joined the fray, tipping the scales even further. Soon, the skies would be clear of any Black Sun spacecraft. 4 APOD 33 transport planes descended from the heavens, each carrying 40 fully armed soldiers from the Fourth Civilization. Under the leadership of Xiao Guanghua, they swiftly disembarked and surrounded the villa. Despite the villa having endured a bombardment, Cash Garulan's stronghold, being the hideout of the galaxy's largest gang, the Black Sun, naturally boasted extensive and secretive underground passages. Some Black Sun members, hidden within these depths, continued to resist. However, the soldiers of the Fourth Civilization, equipped with M8 Avenger pulse rifles and M23 katana shotguns, and clad in high-fiber combat uniforms for enhanced maneuverability and protection, held a significant advantage in equipment over the gang members. The M8 Avenger pulse rifle, a mature single-soldier electromagnetic pulse weapon, outclassed the DL-18 blaster pistols and EE-3 blaster rifles used by the Black Sun members with its ferocious firepower and rapid rate of fire. The Mass Effect Technology System's weapons were not only foldable and lightweight, but also allowed soldiers to carry multiple main weapons easily, providing a tactical advantage. With the M8's firepower suppressing the enemy, the soldiers switched to M23 shotguns as they delved into Garulan's underground palace. They methodically cleared the labyrinth of rooms and corridors with the shotgun's formidable firepower. In an era where the galaxy was plagued by a scarcity of advanced weaponry, the mercenaries and gang members' reliance on basic blasters made them no match for the Fourth Civilization's army, equipped with assault rifles, shotguns, grenades, and flashbangs. Garulan, having lost all his forces in the Endor galaxy, had few defenders left, leading to a swift defeat. After securing the luxury villa, Xiao Guanghua and his team began to scour the premises for valuables. Meanwhile, the Enterprise Alliance, sensing a shift in the winds of fortune, betrayed Black Sun and started to seize its assets on Mercana. This included underground bars, red light districts, spice smuggling networks, mines, and weapons workshops, a veritable windfall given their prior collusion with Garulan. Xiao Guanghua and his team had bigger ambitions. After an exhaustive search, they finally uncovered their prize. "Report, sir. We found it." A soldier, covered in grime, approached Xiao Guanghua with a salute, presenting a memory chip and a stack of paper documents. These were secured in a well-protected safe. It took our experts half a day to crack it open, but fortunately, we succeeded. The documents and memory chip held the key to unraveling the depths of the Black Sun's operations, a significant breakthrough in their mission. The meticulous planning and execution of their operation marked the beginning of a new chapter in their struggle against the galaxy's criminal underworld. The manager had acquired Garulan's head, ensuring that the information from the Mothership could successfully pass the identity verification of the safe. Xiao Guanghua, upon examining the paper document, couldn't hide his elation. It was exactly what he needed. The document contained the accounts of Vigo Cash Garulan, one of the 9 Vigos of the Black Sun. It meticulously listed all the underground industries and contacts under his name, including a large number of officials corrupted and swayed by his wealth and allure. With this document in hand, the vast and enigmatic empire of the Black Sun was now slightly unveiled. Tang Xiao, reviewing the data Xiao Guanghua had sent back from planet Mercana, let out a sinister chuckle. Turning to his companion, he said, "We can begin. It's going to be quite the spectacle." Niyong Xiao, with a knowing smile, replied, "A spectacle indeed. The more, the merrier." "Our guest of honor will be arriving shortly," Tang Xiao assured, clapping Tang Xiao on the shoulder before departing. He made his way to the computer engineering department, navigating through a clutter of packing bags and beer bottles to find Super Lotus. Despite her long hours in front of the computer, Super Lotus, clad only in a vest, maintained an impressive physique, likely due to a regular exercise routine, a stark contrast to the stereotypical hacker. Currently, she was engrossed in her work, simultaneously typing commands on 3 keyboards in front of multiple screens. Upon noticing Tang Xiao, she turned and nodded. "Manager, I've locked on to the target. They've assembled the super-nuclear bomb, powered by the brainless man provided by Bando Gosa. The spacecraft is ready. They're just waiting for a signal from G." "What's the situation with Ghidorah the Hutt?" Tang Xiao inquired. Super Lotus reported, "Based on feedback from Yuri Orlov and the robot Jason Statham, Ghidorah seems unaffected. This suggests that due to Ghidorah's predicament, G has likely been replaced. Let's not delve into tracking G's origin for now. We'll act once he sends the signal. We don't need to get involved in that murky tale just yet," Tang Xiao advised. "Understood. I'll notify you the moment G sends the confirmation, and they begin their move," Super Lotus confirmed. "Excellent. Our plan is in motion, and this is a crucial piece," Tang Xiao acknowledged, satisfied. "Consider it done," she assured him. As Tang Xiao turned to leave, intending to visit the medical room to inspect Galulan's head, Super Lotus called out from behind. "Wait, manager. I've detected a set of data being remotely uploaded to the spacecraft, powered by the brainless man." Vol 2, Chapter 194, Assassination. The moment Tang Xiao heard Super Lotus's cry, he nearly leaped backward in shock. He dashed to the monitor and demanded, "What message was sent?" "I'm not sure. The data is encrypted. We'll need to decode it to understand the content," Chao Lianhua replied, her brow furrowed as she reached out to type on the keyboard. Tang Xiao quickly seized her wrist. "Don't decode it. Leave it as it is." Chao Lianhua was taken aback by his sudden action, but then remembered Tang Xiao's earlier warning. However, as a hacker, the temptation of an encrypted data packet sitting right in front of her was almost unbearable. "No, I can't stand it. I would be betraying my own principles if I didn't decode this," she exclaimed, her voice filled with desperation as she reached out to press the enter key. Tang Xiao promptly escorted her out the door and instructed the guard, "Give her a 3-day vacation, the kind without internet access, please." Without giving another glance to the protesting Super Lotus, who had completely lost her composure, he headed straight for the helipad. There, a shuttle was already prepared, and the container holding Galulan's head was securely placed inside. Tang Xiao boarded the shuttle, started the engine, and then took out a black communicator to initiate a secretive call. The holographic projection displayed Hago Damask II, whose expression was hidden beneath a metal mask. His tone was impatient. "You better have a good reason for using this channel to contact me, otherwise you will experience what eternal pain truly is. Your Excellency, are you currently on Sojourn Planet? Don't say anything else. Leave immediately. I'm on my way to meet you." Tang Xiao feigned panic, his voice almost a shout. Hago Damask II was momentarily taken aback but then quickly responded, "Moonalinst Planet," before abruptly ending the communication. Tang Xiao input the coordinates for Moonalinst into the navigation system, activated the hyperspace engine, and vanished into the cosmos. Meanwhile, on the moon of the Hunter, Sojourn Planet, Hago Damask II hastily exited his secret laboratory. He didn't forget to summon his loyal medical robot, 114D, go to the spacecraft, conduct a system check, and start the engine. I'll be right there. 114D dutifully headed to Hago's personal ship, initiated the engine, and performed a self-check. Although Hago Damask II was uncertain about Tang Xiao's warning, he quickly assessed the situation, considering all possible future scenarios. He left Sojourn Planet and set a course for Moonalinst, the Moon people's homeworld and his most secure stronghold. Regardless of whether Tang Xiao's warning was a deception, the most he stood to lose was some progress on his experiments. The spaceship ascended, breaking free from Sojourn's gravitational pull, then engaged the hyperspace engine, heading directly for Moonalinst. Shortly after arriving at Abora Island on Moonalinst, Hago Damask II received another urgent communication. Activating the communicator, the holographic projection revealed a corpulent and unsightly figure, Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt, What do you want at this time? Hego Damask II asked, his mood sour, speaking fluently in the challenging Hutt language. Jabba's voice, also in Hutt, was low. The planet Sojourn is about to be attacked, my friend. Hego Damask II's expression darkened, but he didn't reveal that he was already aware of the threat. I'm leaving immediately. How did you come by this information? Black Sun and Ghidorah, Jabba replied succinctly. I appreciate the warning, my friend, Hego Damask II said. It's a mutual benefit, Jabba responded, his massive form shifting before he ended the communication. A day later, Tang Xiao piloted the shuttle to planet Murinster, only to be immediately intercepted by the Planetary Defense Fleet. Murinster, the homeworld of the Munes and the headquarters of the Interstellar Banking Association, was heavily guarded even in times of peace, with more than 10 generous-class communication frigates on standby at all times. However, upon transmitting the identification code of Heiji to the defensive fleet, Tang Xiao was granted access. He descended through the planet's atmosphere, navigating over lush, untouched forests and densely populated supercities until he located the island of Ebola in the midst of a light blue ocean. This island was the stronghold of Black Godamask II. Upon disembarking from the spaceship, Tang Xiao found He standing in a spacious, sunlit seaside villa, gazing silently out at the sea. Honorable Lord, I'm relieved to see you unharmed, Tang Xiao said, bowing his head in respect. Where did you receive your information? Heiji inquired, his tone light, yet he did not turn to face Tang Xiao. I recently orchestrated the demise of Kashi Garulan, one of the 9 great Vigos of the Black Sun, and extracted the information from his database. Tang Xiao explained briefly. He then detailed their findings. The Bando Goza organization has created a group of mindless individuals using a special spice known as the Death Rod. They've stolen refined radioactive materials and, with the Black Sun's help, acquired crucial components to assemble a nuclear bomb intended for your assassination. I am aware, Heij responded calmly. With a slight gesture, he activated a holographic projection TV, which began to play a video. The footage, captured from an orbiting satellite, showed a green planet. Suddenly, a black shadow, moving too swiftly for the camera to capture its form clearly, streaked across the screen like lightning, plunging into the planet's atmosphere and descending rapidly towards the surface. The resulting explosion was catastrophic, the fireball expanding in a display visible even from orbit. The shockwave dispersed the planet's atmosphere, while the relentless flames ravaged its surface. The crust cracked open, seas evaporated, and the landscape was irrevocably altered. Mountains collapsed into ravines, and rivers were upturned into hills. The video feed abruptly ended, likely due to the explosion's shockwave reaching synchronous orbit and destroying the satellite. Even Tang Xiao, who had seen much in his time, was taken aback by the sheer magnitude of the destruction. According to the intelligence gathered by Super Lotus, the nuclear bomb was relatively small, comparable in size to a car. Yet, the devastation it wrought was unimaginable, capable of annihilating at least half of a planet's surface. The power it unleashed was truly horrifying. Vol 2, Chapter 195, The Name of Darth, Part 1. 5 standard hours ago, began Black Godamask II, his tone calm as if the harrowing assassination attempt had left him unscathed. He turned sharply, his red eyes piercing into Tang Xiao. The planet Sojourn had neither a planetary shield nor a defense fleet. Such measures could lead to its discovery. After all, the galaxy knows of Sojourn's coordinates, but fewer than 100 people are aware of them. Even fewer know that I was there at the time. He stepped closer to Tang Xiao, his voice growing increasingly menacing. Now, tell me, how did you come to know of this assassination attempt? Tang Xiao replied nonchalantly. Jabba warned you as well, didn't he? Hige was taken aback, his mind racing through countless possibilities triggered by Tang Xiao's revelation. Falling silent, he straightened up and turned to gaze at the vast sea. Tang Xiao, too, remained silent, joining him in contemplation. After a long pause, Hige finally spoke. The Black Sun couldn't have orchestrated this assassination, not even with the help of Ghidorah and Bando Goza. It went unnoticed. I will do my best to investigate, Tang Xiao offered. It's not a task for you alone, Hige responded, shaking his head. You can continue your inquiries with the Black Sun. I'll handle the rest. I've brought a gift that might help us gather more information, Tang Xiao said, gesturing for Hige to follow him to his spaceship. There, they found the well-preserved head of Cash Garulan. Hige's face twisted into a smirk upon seeing it, and he commended Tang Xiao. "You've done well. Your loyalty and competence are crucial. Bring this head and come with me." He led Tang Xiao to a concealed pit on Ebola Island and leaped down using the Force. Tang Xiao followed, only to realize mid-fall that the pit was far deeper than he had sensed, over 70 meters deep, a potentially fatal drop even for a Jedi Knight. Caught off guard, they could easily be incapacitated or killed. A powerful force cushioned Tang Xiao's landing. Looking around, he saw they were in a vast underground chamber, naturally formed, with a blood-stained altar at its center, and various medical and experimental apparatus scattered about. "This is my true laboratory," declared Hige, now to be known as Darth Plagueis, his voice chilling. "I've told you before, my research focuses on the essence of life and the pursuit of immortality." He gestured to the equipment. "As my apprentice, having embraced the darkest teachings of the Sith and proven your loyalty, you are now worthy to join my experiments. Together, we can achieve immortality and rule the galaxy forever." Tang Xiao knelt on one knee, bowing his head. "I am honored by your vision, my lord. To follow in your footsteps is all I ask." Darth Plagueis laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "Your lack of ambition is your greatest weakness. In the past, I might have dismissed you for it, but now I see it as a strength. After all, to achieve immortality, you must indeed remain subservient. Sometimes, an apprentice's ambition can be a threat." "I will follow your lead, my lord," Tang Xiao pledged. "You shall be known as Darth," Darth Plagueis declared, bestowing upon Tang Xiao a title that marked a new chapter in his journey into the depths of the dark side. Darth signifies the embodiment of death, and in the ancient Lakatan language, it also conveys the notion of immortality. And for us, following the rule of two, it signifies your true ascension to a Sith, Darth Plagueis explained. "The rule of two?" Tang Xiao inquired, puzzled. "Yes, a doctrine established by the formidable Sith Lord, Darth Bane. According to this principle, there can only be one master and one apprentice within the Sith at any given time. However, those days are behind us. Together, we the Sith shall become the undisputed sovereigns of this galaxy." Darth Plagueis declared with conviction. "I am deeply honored," Tang Xiao responded. "Proceed to the altar and meditate. Meanwhile, I shall contemplate your new name." Darth Plagueis instructed. Can't I choose my own name?" Tang Xiao asked, scratching his head. "Perhaps something like Das Provence or Das Honduras." "Silence!" Darth Plagueis snapped, losing his patience. Tang Xiao quickly made his way to the altar, only then noticing its gruesome details. The altar was stained with fresh blood, and hanging in front of it was a skeleton of an indescribable shape, clearly not human, but belonging to a shorter species. Remnants of flesh and blood clung to the bones, eerily fresh as if the blood had refused to coagulate and dry despite the passage of time. "This was once a Sith, an inconsequential apprentice of my master," Darth Plagueis remarked nonchalantly. "I subjected him to experiments involving fibrils, tormenting him for over 2 decades. Even in moments of death, I would revive him, only to continue the excruciating experiments." His eyes gleamed with a disturbing excitement as he recounted the process, clearly reveling in the memory. "Ultimately, I mercifully granted him death. Now, his remains serve their final purpose on this altar. Sit and meditate here. Feel the rage and hatred of a Sith who endured 2 decades of agony. This experience will immerse you in the true essence of the Sith way." Was this another psychological test? Tang Xiao took a deep breath and positioned himself cross-legged on the altar. As soon as he closed his eyes, a tormented cry filled the void. "Praegus, you denied me death, yet refused me life. You condemned me to eternal suffering. I will kill you. I must kill you." Anger, pain, hatred, fear, sorrow, a maelstrom of negative emotions engulfed Tang Xiao like a tidal wave. Moreover, these feelings were infused with a potent dark side force. The dark side thrives on such negativity, and the soul that had been subjected to 2 decades of torment harbored a dark side force of almost unimaginable intensity. Vol 2, Chapter 196, The Name of Darth, Part 2. There was no question about the immense power of the Sith spirit that Darth Plagueis had suspended over the altar. Even in its diminished state, it was formidable enough to have once dared to oppose Darth Plagueis himself. This spirit was none other than Darth Venomous, a being of the Beth species, who, despite being reduced to a mere shadow of his former self, was still filled with rage. He cursed Darth Plagueis, he cursed all life, and he cursed the entire galaxy. His negative emotions unleashed a torrent of dark side energy, chaotic and uncontrollable, threatening to engulf everything in its path. This dark force battered against Tang Xiao's spirit relentlessly, as if Darth Venomous's remaining essence sought to invade Tang Xiao's body, to consume and obliterate his very being, and to take his place. However, Darth Venomous soon realized his efforts were futile. The force within Tang Xiao, though not as potent, acted like a vortex, drawing in and absorbing Venomous's spirit and power without resistance. It was akin to a hyena devouring a lion, except the lion was utterly defenseless, forced to watch as it was consumed piece by piece. Darth Plagueis, observing from the sidelines, was astounded to see Tang Xiao absorbing Darth Venomous's dark side energy. The force was not something that could be simply taken and consumed like food. Absorbing another's force essence was tantamount to absorbing their will, risking a complete transformation of one's personality, or worse, becoming an entirely different person. "Stop this madness," Darth Plagueis bellowed. But Tang Xiao was in a trance. Surrounded by the spirits of ancient and powerful Sith, their presences like towering statues around him, silently observing. Immersed in the dark side of the Force, Tang Xiao felt an overwhelming surge of power. He was filled with an urge to unleash this power, to scream, to laugh, to cry, to express the tumultuous emotions within him in the most explosive manner possible. Fear, aggression, conquest, domination, desires for women, wealth, and power swelled within him, his strength growing exponentially, to the point where he felt capable of obliterating anything and everything. Darth Venomous's howls seemed distant to Tang Xiao, who now regarded the Sith spirit as nothing more than prey. He realized that what he truly commanded was the essence of death itself. Suddenly, Tang Xiao's eyes snapped open. He found Darth Plagueis standing a mere 5 meters away, amidst the chaos of the aftermath. The remnants of Darth Venomous were scattered around, and the laboratory was in disarray, as if a tornado had swept through. Darth Plagueis, with a cold smile, ignited his blood-red lightsaber, its plasma blade humming menacingly. "So what should I call you? Darth Venomous, perhaps?" Tang Xiao responded with a slight smile. "No, I believe Das Honduras suits me better." Darth Plagueis's expression turned icy. Instead of deactivating his lightsaber, he charged forward. Caught off guard, Tang Xiao quickly composed himself. With most of Darth Venomous's dark side energy now coursing through him, he felt an unprecedented surge of power, confident even to confront Darth Plagueis. Their lightsabers clashed, emitting a cacophony of sparks and energy as the two forces collided. The blades of their lightsabers were locked in a fierce clash, neither yielding an inch. In this moment, the formidable forces of Tang Xiao and Plagueis collided with such intensity that the air around them seemed to tremble. Tang Xiao felt an overwhelming pressure as Plagueis's power seemed to permeate everything in their vicinity. He was nearly immobilized, his body feeling as if it were ensnared by an invisible force. The medical equipment nearby vibrated ominously, threatening to crash into him at the slightest lapse in his concentration. Even more perilous were the scalpels that had levitated from their sterilization tray, hovering in the air. Had Tang Xiao not exerted his own force to keep them at bay, he would have been riddled the wounds. At the heart of their confrontation was the duel of their lightsabers, a manifestation of their dark side powers. The forces they wielded entwined and clashed, creating a tempest of invisible energy that culminated in a violent explosion, sending shockwaves through the room. The explosion forced Tang Xiao and Plagueis apart, but they quickly engaged once more, their lightsabers a blur of motion. To an onlooker, their rapid movements would have been a dizzying spectacle, the blades leaving trails of light that painted the air with after-images. Each clash of their weapons unleashed bursts of energy, a testament to their mastery over the force surrounding them. Tang Xiao, having recently absorbed the power of Darth Venomous, managed to hold his ground against Plagueis's formidable force. However, it was clear that Plagueis was toying with him, his superior swordsmanship confining Tang Xiao's movements to a dangerously limited scope. In an unexpected turn, the medical equipment that Tang Xiao had been restraining was suddenly released, striking him with such force that he was sent flying, blood spilling from his mouth. His concentration faltered, and before he could recover, Plagueis's overwhelming force descended upon him, knocking him down once again. Struggling to regain control, Tang Xiao attempted to counter Plagueis's attacks with his lightsaber, but his rhythm was irrevocably lost. After a brief exchange, he found himself completely immobilized, unable to defend against Plagueis's next move. In a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, Plagueis's lightsaber hovered menacingly close to Tang Xiao's eyes. With a voice that seemed to weave a spell of its own, Plagueis declared, "Your name, Darth Malthael." Vol 2, Chapter 197, The N1 Starfighter. Darth Malthael? Upon hearing the name, Tang Xiao couldn't help but laugh initially, but his amusement quickly turned to awe. He immediately grasped the significance of the name and its connection to himself. Malthael, known as the Angel of Death, is the final adversary in Diablo 3. Once an angel of wisdom, he fell from grace and began to wield the power of death, becoming a symbol of the end of life. Such a power closely resembled Tang Xiao's own ability to control death. Could it be that his talent was derived from Malthael? This prompted Tang Xiao to ponder another question. The Mothership's database was filled with technologies inspired by various games, technologies that had been brought to life. These were war machines capable of flight, armed combat, and causing destruction. And now, it seemed a power from another game had manifested within him. What did this mean? Was it merely a coincidence? When his ability first began to awaken, Tang Xiao hadn't noticed anything unusual. The original force was all-encompassing. Darth Plagueis, known for his studies on immortality, could manipulate life itself through the Force, creating or curing diseases with a mere gesture. Moreover, powerful Force users were known to exist in another form after death. In the Star Wars saga, figures like Master Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin Skywalker continued to exist as spirits beyond their physical demise. Similarly, the planet Korriban, a sacred site and the origin of the Sith Lords, was haunted by the spirits of ancient Sith, lingering around their tombs. Thus, Tang Xiao had never been taken aback by his ability to control death. However, the unexpected mention of Malthael's name by Darth Plagueis, a name Darth Plagueis shouldn't have known, made Tang Xiao feel as though he was part of some grand design. "Why this name?" Tang Xiao inquired, looking up. "You mentioned it yourself," Darth Plagueis responded, turning around. With a wave of his hand, he used the Force to gather the scattered debris on the ground and tossed it into a corner. "You spoke the name in the void when you absorbed the power of Darth Venomous. This name carries weight. It's imbued with the essence of death. Were the deity behind this name to stand before me, even I would feel fear. It must hold significant meaning for you." "Does Thanos possess such power?" Tang Xiao ventured to ask. "Idiotic question." Plagueis dismissed Tang Xiao's query with a wave of his hand. "Come here. I'll share the focus of my research with you. You've brought an excellent specimen." Tang Xiao followed and discovered the head of Cash Garrulon preserved in a culture jar. With a slight gesture from Darth Plagueis, something astonishing occurred. Garrulon, dead for several days, suddenly opened his eyes, which were clouded with turbidity. He attempted to speak, but submerged in liquid, no words came out. "This head has been well preserved. I merely need to use the Force to rejuvenate the dead cells and create a force field that tricks the revived brain cells into believing the body is still intact. With continuous manipulation and adjustment of the Force, this severed head can communicate," Darth Plagueis explained, demonstrating his mastery. His movements were deliberate, and Tang Xiao could clearly perceive the operation of the Force, a clear indication that Plagueis was teaching him. Each step was accentuated with the Force, allowing Tang Xiao to sense the process distinctly. Then, as bubbles emerged from Garrulon's mouth and his jaw moved silently, it seemed he was trying to convey a message. After several attempts, Tang Xiao finally deciphered the words, "Planet Naboo, King Varuna, Planet Naboo, King Varuna." Darth Plagueis's gaze darkened, a sinister chuckle escaping his lips. "Is it Planet Naboo? Heh. Meanwhile, on the fringes of the Milky Way's middle ring, the planet Naboo was alive with festivity. The capital city, Sid, was aglow with lanterns, its streets adorned with vibrant flags. The citizens, though their laughter seemed forced, dutifully scattered petals and confetti from their balconies in a somewhat mechanical fashion. Leading the procession through Sid City's main thoroughfare was a parade of opulence. To enhance the celebratory atmosphere, the hovercars were adjusted to float just above the ground. At the forefront was a striking black vehicle. King Varuna of Naboo, resplendent in a luxurious red robe, leaned out of the sunroof, waving enthusiastically to the onlookers. Despite the splendor of his attire, his prominent bald head was what truly caught the eye. The centerpiece of the procession, drawing the gaze of all, was a starfighter mounted on a trailer. Its design was sleek and streamlined, resembling a smooth water droplet, captivating anyone who laid eyes on it. After navigating the city streets, King Varuna took the stage, his voice brimming with passion. After relentless negotiations with the Nubia Interstellar Engineering Company and the tireless efforts of our engineers, we have achieved our goal. Behold the RAF Naboo N1 starfighter. With such formidable fighters at our disposal, Naboo will become the safest planet in both the middle and outer rings. Our trade routes and caravans will be under the steadfast protection of the N1 starfighters. The glory of the Naboo royal family will shine across Naboo and all neighboring star regions, becoming a beacon of freedom. With immense pride, I declare that our planet Naboo has risen. This momentous occasion marked the unveiling of the N1 starfighter, a joint venture between the planet Naboo and the Nubia Interstellar Engineering Company. The project, which resulted in the establishment of the Sid Palace Spaceship Company, represented a significant investment in research and development. King Varuna, with his political future in mind, placed great faith in this advanced and costly spacefighter, believing it to be crucial for his re-election campaign. Note: due to plot requirements, I have made some adjustments to the timeline, which may differ from the original settings. Consider this a ripple effect of the protagonist's actions. Appendix 1 of the Easter egg chapter, N1 Starfighter. Vol 2, Chapter 198, Changes on Planet Naboo, Part 1. Despite King Varuna's enthusiastic speech on stage, the audience's reaction was tepid. The citizens of the capital offered only routine applause, while the officials present were visibly worried. King Varuna's reign was far from smooth. His ascent to power was largely due to a trade agreement with the Trade Federation, promising to export plasma ore in exchange for financial income that would bolster Naboo's infrastructure and improve the lives of its people. However, the reality was starkly different. The agreement he signed was, in truth, a humiliating and unequal treaty that allowed the Trade Federation to exploit Naboo's plasma mines aggressively. Naboo was left to manage the environmental damage and pay the Trade Federation for the privilege, all while the Federation purchased the plasma at below-market prices and sold it for enormous profits. This exploitation led to escalating tensions between Naboo's human population and the Gungans, an aquatic species native to the planet, pushing them to the brink of war. While King Varuna and his cabinet profited from the deal, the promised improvements to infrastructure and civil engineering were forgotten. As a result, the king's approval ratings plummeted, putting his re-election prospects in jeopardy. Determined to salvage his rule, King Varuna embarked on two major initiatives, the N1 Starfighter program and renegotiating the trade agreement. He invested heavily in the Nubia Star Engineering Company to develop the N1 Starfighter, aiming to create the galaxy's most formidable fighter jet. The collaboration resulted in the Sid Palace Spaceship Company and the production of the N1 Starfighter, a marvel of engineering that boasted superior handling, an advanced automatic operating system, top-tier firepower and maneuverability, and a short-distance acceleration of 3,800 G, surpassing even the Delta VI fighters used by Jedi Knights. Despite its impressive capabilities, the N1 Starfighter came with a hefty price tag of 200,000 credits per unit, making it a luxury compared to other fighters like the Z-95 Headhunter. Nevertheless, its performance alone positioned it on par with the average Jedi Knight's fighter, excluding any force-related advantages. With the N1 starfighters at his disposal, King Ars Varuna aimed to challenge the Trade Federation's stranglehold over Naboo. He sought to either renegotiate the existing trade agreements or nullify them entirely, a move that would inevitably lead to a fallout with the Trade Federation and, by extension, Black Gadamask II. Black G had orchestrated the original trade agreement as a means to secure Newt Gunray's loyalty and position within the Trade Federation, viewing it as a crucial step in aligning the Trade Federation with the Interstellar Banking Association under his influence. King Ars Varuna's actions threatened to unravel Black G's carefully laid plans, setting the stage for a confrontation that could alter the fate of Naboo and its inhabitants. Ars Varuna, aware of the immense power he could wield, sought external alliances to amplify his influence. Driven by unseen forces, he successfully aligned with Black Sun and Ghidorah the Hutt, securing a deal to represent the plasma mines on the planet Naboo. This agreement promised returns far beyond his current earnings. To further intimidate the Trade Federation, he conspired with Black Sun on a perilous mission, the assassination of Hegodmask II. The crux of their plan hinged on the plasma mines of Naboo. However, by the time Varuna discovered this, it was too late. The assassination attempt had failed, and the true orchestrator had vanished without a trace, leaving only a few to face the consequences. Unaware of the plan's failure, Ars Varuna was at the zenith of his career, basking in satisfaction. As the N1 starfighters soared in formation, his spirit soared alongside them. He proclaimed to his audience, "Today marks the day I change our fate." With the N1 starfighters' successful maiden flight and the impending trade agreement, the Naberi family will never threaten the throne of Naboo again. A man beside him cautioned, "King Varuna, I advise prudence. The Trade Federation has profited greatly from the plasma mines and will not relinquish them easily. Rest assured, I have the Hutts' backing, and within Naboo's gravitational field, no spacecraft can communicate with our Royal Air Force. The trade agreement is within our grasp," Varuna replied with a laugh. Yet, the political climate in the Galactic Council is unfavorable. Following the Malastar dispute, Speaker Finis Valorum's position is at risk, necessitating decisive action, the man continued. "What concern is that of mine?" Varuna dismissed. "It is relevant. The Malastar incident has jeopardized Deputy Speaker Botan's position. Should Botan fall, Valorum will lose the support of those planets, isolating him in the Senate. To prevent this, he seeks to tax the Outer Rim planets," the man explained. "Valorum is a fool," Varuna scoffed. "The Trade Federation has already shown him who controls the Outer Rim." "The situation is more complex than you realize," the man said, lifting his gaze to reveal himself as Senator Sheev Palpatine, characterized by his high hairline, aquiline nose, and piercing eyes. Vol. 2, Chapter 199, Changes on Planet Naboo, Part 2. A subtle smile ployed of Palpatine's mouth as he spoke in a light tone. "Valoran may not be the brightest, that's true, but from what I've gathered, Phoenix Valoran has had a change of heart. He's now looking to strike deals with the business magnates. The essence of these deals is to lift the restrictions on their armaments." "And then what? This will allow the Trade Federation to have warships overnight? Even if those sluggish merchant vessels are outfitted with cannons, they'll merely be sitting ducks against my N1 starfighters," Ars Varuna retorted. "While I share your confidence, continuously provoking the Trade Federation might not be wise. You're aware that Black Gadamask II, who backs them, is not someone to be trifled with," Palpatine responded. The sensation of having cold water doused over his enthusiasm was unpleasant, and Ars Varuna waved his hand in frustration. "You worry too much, Senator Palpatine. Every time we discuss this, you're always opposing. Do you really see the Trade Federation and Black Go as unbeatable? We need to have confidence. We must rise to the challenge. Then, I can continue to lead the planet of Naboo and let the N1 starfighter be one of many projects that our people can take pride in." Palpatine observed Varuna's impassioned display with a look that bordered on amusement, tinged with a hint of pity. True, he consistently opposed Varuna's stance on confronting the Trade Federation and Black Go, but he understood Varuna's ambitious nature all too well. The more he opposed and highlighted the strength of the Trade Federation, the more it fueled the resentment in Varuna's heart. subtly steering him against the Trade Federation and Black Go. This way, even if Varuna inadvertently let something slip or was discovered by other means, he would never suspect Palpatine. After all, he had always been against it, right? As for the N1 starfighter, was Varuna oblivious to the fact that Naboo's already fragile finances were teetering on the brink of bankruptcy because of this project? Palpatine regarded him with a cold gaze. The N1 starfighter would not bring about any significant change, and the planet Naboo would end up as a casualty in that grand scheme, heralding the final death knell for the Galactic Republic. But the time for observation was nearly over. The drama had played out long enough, and for some actors, it was time for their final bow. Let's see what unfolds next. "Don't worry, Your Majesty, I'm always by your side," Palpatine said calmly. By the way, Black Go Damask II was spotted on the planet Murinster yesterday, and he's about to accompany Newt Gunray of the Trade Federation to Coruscant to discuss an agreement with Valorum. We should keep a close eye on this development. Palpatine's words struck Ars Varuna like a hammer to the head. A chill ran down his spine, leaving him cold and rigid, unable to even wiggle his toes. As Palpatine continued to speak, analyzing Phoenix Valoran's new policies and the alliance between the Trade Federation and the Interstellar Banking Association, Varuna didn't catch a single word. What was happening? Black on the planet Murinster? What about the nuclear bombs? What about Sojourn? As if the blow wasn't severe enough, Palpatine added nonchalantly, "Yesterday, the Republic's border post detected an unusual energy burst, and the Republic's judicial fleet is investigating. But this is a minor issue. The judicial fleet's deployment suggests they're not in support of Phoenix Valoran." "Eh? Your Majesty Varuna? Your Majesty Varuna." Ars Varuna was slumped on the balcony stool, staring blankly into the sky, utterly speechless. Palpatine smiled faintly. "Take your time to bask in the glory that the N1 starfighter has brought you. I must attend to some matters. Princess Amidala, Padme Nabelli, will be." In the afternoon, during a rally organized to gather funds for refugee relief efforts, I had previously committed to representing her. I was informed that Claire Underwood from the Outer Ring Galaxy Mutual Aid Fund would be in attendance as well. However, I decided not to accompany her. A week later, Tang Xiao concluded his studies, bid farewell to Darth Plagueis, and returned to the Endor Galaxy. Upon arriving, he boarded the hangar of the Glory Mothership and, accompanied by his entourage, made his way back to his office. Once there, he stretched expansively, reflecting on how long it had been since his last visit to Darth Plagueis. That visit marked the official beginning of his apprenticeship, the acceptance of the Book of Sith, and the construction of his own lightsaber. Since then, his life had been a whirlwind of activity, including the Battle of Malathal Fjord, the Battle of Kash Garalan in the Endor Galaxy, and the strategic deployment against the Black Sun. Following these events, he visited Darth Plagueis for the second time, received his Sith name, Darth Marthael, and delved into Plagueis's research. Months flew by in what seemed like moments, and now, with his affairs in order, he could finally take a moment to rest. Exhausted, Tang Xiao leaned back on his office sofa and drifted off to sleep. A cool, silky hand reached out, gently massaging his temples and skillfully easing the tension around his eye sockets, cheeks, and the bridge of his nose. Tang Xiao recognized the touch and remained still, savoring the tender care of the beautiful Alia Isabel. As she worked, she hummed a simple yet enchanting melody, her voice as clear as a silver bell. Tang Xiao found himself deeply relaxed, transported to a serene countryside road, surrounded by golden wheat fields swaying in the breeze, the scent of earth filling the air. It was a feeling he had sorely missed. Upon awakening, Tang Xiao checked the time and realized he had slept for 3 hours. According to the Galaxy Standard Time, it was already 7 p.m., nearing evening. A delicate fragrance caught his attention, and looking down, he saw Alia Isabel asleep on his lap. The faint, dark circles under her eyes revealed her restless nights during his absence. Indeed, being on an entirely unfamiliar planet without relatives and the only person she knew away, she had lived each day with caution, as if treading on thin ice. The recent battle to destroy Kash Garalan, with its horrific scenes, must have deeply frightened her. Now, with Tang Xiao's return, Alia Isabel could finally find solace. the only person she could rely on was back. Vol 2, Chapter 200. The lights should be turned off. Here, a warm sensation pressed against his knees, prompting Tang Xiao to lower his gaze. Beneath him, Alia was asleep, her posture one of serene submission. Kneeling on the ground, she was clad in a long white dress that draped over her form, her golden hair spread out and shimmering softly under the ambient light. It was undeniable. Alia's beauty was unparalleled, from her striking appearance and graceful figure to her melodious voice and delicate scent. Her upbringing and manners were impeccable, making her a rare gem in every aspect. Previously, Tang Xiao had neglected her, preoccupied with matters he deemed more pressing. However, now, with a rare moment of leisure, the stirrings of desire began to awaken within him, yet he preserved a shred of gentleness amidst these feelings. Carefully, he lifted Alia into his arms and carried her to the bedroom, laying her down on the plush velvet bed. As he tenderly stroked her back, Alia's long eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly emerged from the realm of sleep. Groggily, she noticed Tang Xiao lying beside her. Understanding dawned on her. She was prepared to surrender herself completely to him, to intertwine her fate with this man. This was all she could offer, and all that remained was the hope that Tang Xiao would treat her kindly for the rest of her days. She yearned not for dignity, but for the simple comforts of life, a warm meal, a soft bed, and a clean room. Raised by Mrs. Bixby to be nothing more than a tool for pleasing men, Alia Isabella's aspirations were modest. With a gentle embrace, Alia wrapped her arms around Tang Xiao's neck, initiating a kiss. Cut! The director's voice abruptly halted the scene. Alia and Tang Xiao froze, their gazes locked in surprise. That's enough for today's shoot, everyone. Great work. We'll pick this up tomorrow, the director announced, clapping his hands. Confused, Tang Xiao and Alia nodded, quickly dressing and preparing to leave the set. The director paused, then called out to them. Actually, go ahead and continue. I'm not heartless after all. Let's turn off the lights so no one else can see. With a click, darkness enveloped the room, rendering everything invisible. The next morning, Alia awoke with a start. The bed beside her was empty, the bedroom in disarray. Despite the soreness that pervaded her body, a deep sense of contentment filled her. She mustered the strength to rise, determined not to spend the day in bed. As she struggled to her feet, the bedroom door opened and two maids entered. They greeted her respectfully. Miss Alia, the manager has instructed us to attend to your needs. Please, let us know if you require anything. Another maid added, the manager is currently away on business at Dawn Planet. Given your current status, it's not advisable for you to accompany him in public. However, he mentioned that if you're feeling bored, arrangements can be made for you to pursue a career in entertainment. You need a bath now. Please, allow us to assist you. It's our duty, they insisted. Overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events, Alia could only acquiesce, allowing the maids to tend to her. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao felt rejuvenated, his spirits high after ending his celibacy with such a stunning woman. He traveled early to Dawn Planet to oversee its development. The fourth civilization was now benefiting from a well-established administrative system, bolstered by the expertise of several master-level administrators. The development and construction of the fourth civilization have progressed systematically, with Dawn City at its heart, boasting a population of 100,000. This includes 40,000 school-aged individuals who have been awakened, 50,000 who have come from frozen embryos, and approximately 10,000 immigrants and Ewoks. As the expansion of Dawn City begins to plateau, efforts have shifted towards exploring new territories through a mobile command center constructed by SCV. This initiative has led to the establishment of 4 new towns and 2 industrial mining areas. Distinct from Dawn City's role as a comprehensive urban center, these new towns each have their unique focus. The City of Truth is dedicated to the education sector, planning to host a variety of technical schools, higher education institutions, and programs for universal education. Zaolu City, situated in a fertile plain, is primarily agricultural. The Fourth Civilization's Ministry of Agriculture has launched an agricultural industrialization pilot project here. Traditionally, agriculture in the Fourth Civilization relied on hydroponic farms, which were somewhat dispersed. The new approach, aims to consolidate these efforts on a larger scale, employing environmental transformation technology to boost production significantly in designated areas like wheat and cornfields. These industrialized agricultural zones are designed to adjust the environment to meet the specific growth requirements of each crop. Winter City is designated for military education and training, housing various military academies, boot camps, and a few small military research bases. This setup allows for immediate testing of new equipment. The two industrial zones, the smelting area and the cast iron area, have seen the opening of numerous factories and mining farms. These are centrally managed and operationally specialized to focus on producing essential industrial components. With the introduction of economic policies by the Fourth National Bank, the number 4 currency has been put into circulation within the Fourth Civilization, marking the opening of its market policy. Although most emerging companies and groups are currently engaged in the foundry industry and lack their own industrial chains, this is a significant step towards economic diversification. The Ewoks, too, have begun to integrate into the society of the Fourth Civilization. Through effective propaganda and recruitment efforts, an increasing number of Ewoks have relocated to live within the Fourth Civilization, particularly in Gumi City, which now houses nearly 20,000 Ewoks. Despite maintaining many of their primitive living habits, they have started to work in the Fourth Civilization's industries, gradually becoming assimilated members of the civilization.